I don't know. It's just crazy. I just never thought things like this would happen or I'd ever be doing a stream like this. It just feels very strange because it's just very out of my element. I've never really like for the most part commented on drama or like self-inserted in situations, but I guess in this situation I'm kind of like stuck in the middle of it against my will. So it's like if I don't do it, who else is gonna do it? I'm just gonna take a second. Sorry, I said that like 4 times, but this is it's a lot. I hate drama streams. Me too, man. Bro, like I could have come home. I could have worked on beating Cinna and Clint's fucking Mega Bonk scores. Now look what I have to do. So
Okay, I'm gonna say something here. I'm gonna pull us out of the moment. Take a deep breath. I'm gonna pull us into our thinking caps. So we're gonna be not, we're not gonna be emotionally meeting Emmy where she is right now. We're gonna zoom out a bit. One of the dilemmas to this space and in the world that we are facing right now that is so real, and we have to start growing up and realizing it's real, is that no one gets to grow up and just play games. That these drama streams aren't drama, they're reflections of people's characters, right? That Emmy does have a habit of never getting involved with anything, which is also why she's now responsible for uplifting the predators around her. And then she is now one of the victims, but she's not responsible for herself being a victim. She's, like many of us, born into a world that, we're not safe if we're silent and we're not safe if we speak out. Oh, she made a video. She wants attention. Oh, she never said anything. She's hiding and protecting predators. We're fucked if we do. We're fucked if we don't. And so that's why I say there's no easy way to be a good person. But this is why a lot of people might feel, well, chat says she might call it drama to cope. No, they call it drama because in this space, they don't think anything's ever serious because they don't want the responsibility of being serious about life. At the same time, though, they go after people, harass people, but they don't want it to be serious. They call it drama so they don't have to be responsible. It's not drama. The issue is that we have a White House and an administration that feels like a Kim Kardashian episode, but real people's lives are being impacted. People are being kidnapped off the streets. A genocide is happening. And this administration gets to play off like they're a Kim Kardashian episode, posting TikToks of people being kidnapped off the streets to the Pokemon theme song. That's this bubble. This bubble thinks this administration is funny. This bubble with Emmy and her friends all pretending like they aren't, literally, like she said, been on the online 10 years. She's an adult now. Okay? They are responsible. Or they're not. The reason I am trying to change the way I talk, the reason I'm trying to get ready to be 40 is because I do want to be the elder in the community. I am open to taking on some of the responsibility as a public figure, but I know I'm not ready yet. I know I'm training to be ready. I don't want to be a kid the rest of my life. I don't want to be a person who just plays video games with my friends in my bedroom, right? Okay? So we need to, really sit with this reality that this dream of being an adult in the community and then saying, I don't want to be a part of the drama is why even when I was interacting with Destiny, I kept thinking, not my problem, not my people, not my drama. Except it wasn't just drama, was it, Brittany? Even before we knew the allegations of what he did, just the stuff beforehand, the misogyny, the language, the ableism, it wasn't just drama. I kept thinking, it's just drama. This has nothing to do with me. It's not just drama. It's not just drama. But then you get, oh, you're the party pooper. Oh, everything to you is so serious. So then you have to pick and choose. Do you want to be the person who's like, actually, or do you want to be, you know what I'm saying? So this is why it's hard. And this is what it taught me. Listen to me when I say this. Like so many years ago, I was more liberal and centristy, but also progressive. But I was a baby progressive, okay? When I was a baby progressive, I was asked to be a moderator at a conference, and I was asked to shadow a Black woman because she said she didn't want to come to the event unless she had somebody she could hang out with because, well, the space was going to be hostile towards her. So they said the best we can do is an Assyrian girl. That's me. And she said, okay. So I shadowed her and I followed her, and I saw people be racist towards her. I saw the microaggressions. I saw so many people attack this woman for being right. And then this woman took time out of her day to have lunch with me at a completely different setting, at a completely different time, at a completely different state. And she asked me, this was years ago. She said, why are you so, I think she used the word desperate or eager. I don't remember. Why are you so basically like eager to save these white men? And I told her, I understand that you're trying to give me the wisdom of it being a lost cause. And I am struggling so hard on giving up on the fact that these boys are hopeless, that they're lost. Because I see my brothers. I see my brothers in all of these men. When I was watching Tectone or was watching Asmon, because I watch everybody, literally, YouTube is my special interest. As much as I can, I will watch somebody just to see what they're like, right? When I was watching them, I could see all their problematic behavior, and I could see the parts of them that I was like, I wonder if this is redeemable. I wonder if we can save these people. And then, what I take from her wisdom and what I bring into my life now is the radical acceptance that you can only ever just give people tools, that you can't actually save people who don't want to engage in the change. We'll talk about this tomorrow in relation to Cutie Cinderella and wanting to be friends with racists in order to give them a safe space. Yeah, I think we're taught as women, especially raised as women, that it is our job to give bad men opportunities to be better. And that is something we have to deconstruct. I cannot tell you how burdened I have been my whole life with this responsibility. I hear it too today. Brittany, you have to protect your brother. Brittany, you have to protect these men. Brittany, you can't do this to them. Brittany, and I'm just like, why am I the most responsible? And so this is why I think a lot of people, especially women, find themselves in these spaces, because these boys, they cry in your arms, they beg you, they share things about their childhood with you that make you break down. I don't even know if all of them are conscious that they're weaponizing it, but some of them are. And so again, like, I understand why Emmy found herself in this bubble. I understand why she is friends with some of the worst people on the internet. I understand why I even have a soft spot for some of the worst people on the internet, because at some point, like, some part of my brain sees them as a kid, like 12 years old and 15. I just keep thinking, man, we just watched Saeed get sexually assaulted on camera, and then we still have to cope with the reality that he's hanging out with some of the worst people on the internet. Why is he hanging out with some of the worst people on the internet? Why is Kai Cenat, somebody you want to root for, hanging out with literal predators on his stream? When are these boys going to stop wanting the approval of horrible men around them? And when are men going to start actually doing the work instead of waiting for all the women to do it for them? Name me a culture where women aren't the ones more responsible for men's bad actions than the men. Name me a culture. I've heard it from Assyrian women, black women, white women. I've heard it from every single kind of woman around the world, that we are held to an impossible standard of not only holding the men accountable, but also protecting them when they do bad. And I'm so tired. But I also know it's not going to fix itself unless we do something about it. So once again, the burden is on us, not as women, but as individuals and people in our community. They're going to do something about it, because not all the women are speaking up. Not all the women have gotten to the point where they're going to hold men accountable. Okay? The same group of women I know in my life, okay, who are willing to not be a girl's girl, who are willing to, sit there and talk about the Trump administration is evil and all this stuff are evil, are also the same women sleeping with married men. The same women on the internet I see who say, like, I would never trust a man. And if my girl cheated on her guy, like, yeah, it's bad, but like, what are you going to do? Like, no. Right? So like, we have to understand that, like, no one is exempt from criticism, but especially nobody is without like trauma and damage. We have got to heal. Okay? We've got to heal. And the healing is it's not going to be like everybody gets to heal. It's going to be a little bit at a time for some part of the population. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Chat says, I gotta be honest, I would not be queer, but non-binary, or nearly as happy as I'm now if people like you didn't give me at least some grace to be better and still have more growing to do. And I still have more growing to do, for sure. And I want you to know that I do want to be a space for you to feel like you're allowed to, you know, be better. But I also need to put my foot down when I see people aren't getting better. No matter how much they feel like they are, like some people are not out here getting better. And that's the problem, you know? And I think that's what's so hard. I want you to get better. I want to believe in people's ability to get better. And I do, and I will never change that. But I will not justify or be nice to you because you're being bad. So like, we'll talk about this tomorrow with Cutie Cinderella. She makes the very infamous mistake that a lot of people make of saying, well, if you're mean to racists, they'll just be more racist. It doesn't matter. Until they're willing to admit they're racist, they're not going to change. When Cutie Cinderella gets up here with her big chest and goes, you know, with her full chest and says, I'm not racist. Well, hold on. Because like, I know as an Assyrian person, the amount of anti-blackness in Assyrian culture. So you expect me to believe if Assyrian culture has anti-blackness in it, that white woman, this kind of white woman doesn't have anti-blackness in her. So when she says I'm not racist, I go, wait a second. Do you know that for a fact? Have you deconstructed? Because you will do a racist, even if you think you're not racist. The irony of having Assyrian cousins that are half white and half Assyrian, having the Confederate flag flying in their bedroom. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, I was like, why is this flag in your house? This is my cousin. I go, why is this flag in your house? And they go, it's for my white side. And I was like, no, that is an anti-black, anti-liberation flag. That is a racist flag. Okay? Anti-blackness is global. It's everywhere. And that's what I'm saying. So for Cutie Cinderella to get out here and be like, I'm not racist. Well, you know, yeah, Chad said she's also ex-Mormon. And so that plays in the mind of being aware of what to deconstruct in oneself. Exactly. Okay? So, okay. With all of this said, this is why it is so hard to deconstruct all of these different bubbles and all of these different things. Because Emmy is probably, as far as I know, does feel supported by her community, which is beautiful. But so did Saeed. And yet these communities are exactly where this type of stuff gets bred. SA and lack of consent and making fun of progressives and thinking people are too woke. If you think I'm too woke, if you think Britney is way too yap, patriarchy, and then you wonder why these things happen in your bubbles, it's because when they happen, you guys make excuses for them. They're a breeding ground for this type of behavior. And we got to stop it. Okay? We've got to stop it. All right, back to Emmy.
Fucking annoying. I had to cancel my plans. Which reminds me, I don't think there's going to be a Halloween stream this year. I don't think that's realistic with kind of the vibes of things right now. But I mean, is anyone gonna be mad at me if I do like, you know, like a Halloween in November thing? Or I mean, there's always next year, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, things happen outside of your control.
I feel like this is also a bad part of streaming and everything else, and I do it too. I apologize, but it would be nice to create a culture where it goes without saying, where it should be assumed that this girl needs time off. We need to normalize leaving the internet. We need to normalize taking a break. Hassan, oh my God, did you see? This explains so much about Hassan. Did you see Gianmarco and him talking? You guys told me about it, that he said he's never been to therapy, and Gianmarco's like, you gotta go to therapy. And I'm like, this explains so much about Hassan. You need to go to therapy. You need to stop streaming 7 days a week. You guys need to take a break, okay? Okay, Cutie Cinderella, y'all need to get off the internet and touch grass. Emaru, you need to you're allowed to skip your Halloween stream, girl. Take a break. Take a break. Okay, for God's sake, take a break.
So, yeah. It's just crazy, but I mean, thank you guys for listening to me talk and complain. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it. So, the next thing, at the end of my last stream, I said that when I got home, I would be talking about some other things that I really, really did not want to talk about. But I feel like those things, developing independently of their own from the TwitchCon incident, have gone to a point where I kind of feel like I have no choice.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Mizkif now. Just a trigger warning. It's a big deal. It's serious. We have to talk about it. And I just want you to remember that Mizkif is, you know, he has a reputation, but he is very much a type of person. He is not unique or special. And there is probably a Mizkif in your life or somebody you might have known. And so this is why moments like this are so powerful and so important. Victims should have the right to tell their story and to speak up. And Emaru has the right to tell her story and to share it with us. She also has the right to keep it private. But then we have to, separate from that, deconstruct and empower ourselves to understand why we find ourselves in these circles and in these situations, because this is the irony of life. We need to, in one way, hold predators accountable, and another way, forgive ourselves for even allowing them to convince us that they're safe. Because that's the other part of this that's so difficult, right? Right? I've seen clips from this already where Emmy says, like, he convinced her he was safe for women. Isn't that just it, though? Isn't that just it? A lot of people think they're really safe people. The question is, how safe can you be? You know, if this is your reputation, if this is, you know, covering up a sexual assault, which Mizkif did, or if in some of these circles voting for Trump, or in some of these circles engaging in a particular way, right? Yeah, membership for 29 months. Let's go. Says, let's take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. Oof. Got to take a deep breath through this. This is very, very heavy. It should be heavy, you know, but this is so important for victims to come forward and speak. This space, though. The reason this space is so frustrating for me is because this is the same space on the internet that weaponizes people's assaults against them, that makes fun of people for going to the internet instead of going to the police. Like, this same space that wants to pretend they care about Emmy will go after other victims of sexual assault. So I hope Emmy, by sharing this vulnerability, is also a wake-up call to her to pick a community that's safer for everybody, but especially SA victims.
So, I've already seen a lot of people speculating about what I'm going to be talking about, and some people have been right, but even for the people who were right, they were only like 5 to 10% right.
And I just want to say, in case anybody heard me incorrectly, right? We don't want to victim blame ever. The victim is never at fault. Okay. Now, people who come to me and say, Brittany, how did I pick this person? How did I even fall for it? Well, first of all, you can't always guarantee you won't fall for a scam, right? Like, people lie to you. But yes, when we are going on dates, we can see the red flags. And this is what I'm trying to say. It is a red flag that someone voted for Trump. Dating a man who voted for Trump is unsafe. Please, please get out of that relationship. It's not a joke, and I'm not making a joke. I'm very dead serious. Now, you might say to yourself, but what about a man who voted for Kamala Harris? Yeah. Be careful of the man who performatively votes for a woman. Be careful of a man, okay, who says they care about women, but look at who they're hanging out with. Look at the things they're watching. Look at the way they talk about women, right? Okay, think about that. Think about these ideas, put it together, and consider all of the context. People can perform, think about all these performative progressive men. And this is why I say be cautious of these men on the internet who you guys feel are so progressive, because if they are not deconstructing, they won't learn the lesson, they won't be better. Okay? And so you as a person, no matter your gender, no matter where you are, even if you're dating a gay person, a trans person, it doesn't mean they're safe or progressive. Be careful who you are talking to. Check their values, check your own, right? I look back at my life and I know for a fact I dated toxic people because I myself was unhealed. And that's why I recommend therapy. It's why I recommend philosophical work, because healed people make different decisions than unhealed people. Now, healed people can still make very human biological decisions. So we must remain introspective and constantly questioning, why am I giving this person a chance? Why am I open to them? Why aren't I writing them off? You know, why am I writing them off too quickly? Why am I writing them off not fast enough? Right? All of this stuff is very important. Okay. Yes, chat says I ignored so much stuff that I would never accept now. Exactly. Oh my God. The things I would have accepted even a year ago, I would not accept now. Clock that. Pay attention to that. Things I accepted even 6 months ago, I will not accept now. And this will happen for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, I will learn what I am tolerating that I should never have been tolerating. It's not like, oh, I figured it out. I arrived. I know how to make the right decision every day. Nope. For the rest of my life, I will wake up tomorrow and say, ooh, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. In 10 years, I'll say, ooh, things I used to tolerate 10 years ago that I'm not going to tolerate now.
I don't think I've seen a single person online who knew or understood the severity of what I want to talk about today. And I want everyone to be aware that I've been handling the situation very seriously, and I've spent a lot of time thinking this over. And not only that, I've been in contact with a lawyer. I had them review everything that I'm planning to say today, because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it right, because it's so serious. And I feel like it's going to change things forever. And
I don't know that there's a right way to talk about your trauma. You know, there could be in some aspects, but I think sometimes it's just necessary to create the right space for people to talk about their trauma.
So, today, I'm finally going to be opening up about and telling everyone. Sorry, I swear I'm not trying to like make this dramatic or something. Like I said, I really wish I were not feeling like I had to do this.
That is rape culture that convinces victims that they have to apologize for the way they are acting while explaining their own trauma. Saeed did the same thing. I've done the same thing. We apologize before talking about something so deeply personal because we know the internet is going to weaponize it. We know our family and friends will weaponize it. We know the people in our life will be like, oh, you're making this such a big deal. Oh, you're talking too slow. You're crying so much. Like you're blowing this out of proportion. Oh, you want money from this or views, or oh, you're trying to like make it longer of a stream. She knows. We know. We already are apologizing. How sad is that?
Just give me some time. I'm gonna be doing a lot of I guess you could say like fourth wall breaking in a way, and talking about things that I thought would always be personal, and just, you know, I would just carry them myself. Today, I'm finally gonna be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Ms. Kif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing. For the entirety of this year, I've attempted to separate myself from him and not talk about him at all, and not talk about this issue, and just not make it a public thing. I always tried my best to keep this to myself, but like I said, I feel like it's gone to the point, which I'll explain later, that I feel like it just has to be done. And I have always believed in not condemning people or starting drama online. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking, why am I doing this and why now? And I would like to explain that before I get started so that people understand what prompted me to do this today, and that it's not just on a whim or something like that. Okay, so like I said, I took a lot of notes, so forgive me if I just end up reading off my notes. The first and probably most severe reason is that one of the rules that I set for myself a long time ago about withholding this information was that if I ever felt like somebody else was in danger or being hurt, I would then make myself speak about it. And 2 weeks ago, actually 3 weeks ago now, I was informed by 3 separate people, one of whom was present for said incident, that he had done something similar to something that he had done to me, and someone in LA at the end of September.
Pause. Okay. Once again, we're using real people's lives to learn about our own philosophy through pop culture, and me sharing something very vulnerable. I just want us to pick up on the fact that she said, I made a deal with myself that if he was going to hurt somebody else, I would speak out. as if she wasn't enough. Okay, this is normal. We bargain with ourselves. We make deals with ourselves. I'm sure you've done it. I've done it 1,000 times. Okay, Brittany, if he does this, you get to speak up. If this happens, if somebody else gets hurt, you get to speak up. It's never for ourselves because we don't think we deserve it. It's always if they hurt somebody else. The truth is they most likely will, because people usually don't have just one-offs. It's usually a pattern built over time, and it may manifest in different ways, but it isn't usually ever just you. And you probably weren't even the first. And that's what's so devastating. And yes, we need to speak up, but first we need to create a society that allows us to speak up without being torn to shreds. Okay? This is the problem, is that yes, people can lie and falsely accuse, but statistically, it's just not likely. It is more likely they are telling the truth in a world that is so casual, right? And that's the thing we have to talk about, is that's the thing we convince ourselves of. This is trauma. Convincing ourselves that we were the first victim, convincing ourselves that we're not good enough to speak on behalf of, convincing ourselves that we need to protect predators, right? So in every way, I am empathizing with Emmy for this reason, because I think she's a victim of the patriarchy, like boys are the victim of the patriarchy. And the only difference here is that Emmy she is, to the best of her ability, holding herself accountable in this moment, but also speaking a truth, that is necessary for us to protect future victims. And I know you can say to yourself, we already knew Miss Kiff was a bad person. Sure. But, not everyone's a rapist, right? And that's not to say that it's not bad, but for some people, for a lot of us, we just kind of have this idea that people are all kind of shitty. But there's a point where even we are like, whoa, we didn't know you'd go that far, right? But then that's the question. At what point should we raise the red flag? At what point should we start writing people off? That's the question that we need to ask ourselves. And I'm saying if we really get to a standard where we write ourselves off or write people off for the yellow flag, orange flag, green, red flag, that's fine. I'm okay with it. I don't think anyone is owed our good faith or owed our giving them a chance. I don't think anyone is owed that, really. But I think that we should consider what role we're playing in society. Are we the therapists, the healers, the world builders, the parents? You know what I mean? So yeah, exactly, chat. The fact that she has to preface this with, I don't do drama, I don't condemn people based off something someone says. Exactly. She's not allowing herself just to say it. And she knows for a fact that she's appeasing her community, because her community is exactly the community that says, oh, false accusations, that votes for Trump, that makes excuses for predators, that, you know what I mean, goes against, that makes a whole 3-week, campaign assault against Hassan. Do you know what I'm saying? Just because they hate him so much. No offense. That's the problem. That's this community. That's these communities. And so we have to be honest about the fact that these aren't safe communities. And that's why she has to do so much and it's somebody putting it out in chat, at least her chat seems to be on her side, which is good. But are they also on the side of everybody else who's come forward? Are they also rewatching the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case? Are they also realizing the way we all fell for Johnny Depp's shtick? Are they also willing to do that? Probably not. Probably not. They're not ready to go back and realize they have absolutely thrown women and victims under the bus time and time again until it's somebody on their side and then all of a sudden they care. Right? And that's why I say I support Emmy and I support Lauren Southern, even if they wouldn't support me. I support them and I believe them. I believe them that they were assaulted and raped. I believe them. But remember that the amount of conservative men that doubted Lauren Southern's story, while progressive people believed it, okay, even though she's a horrible person, okay, that's the point. We believe it because we know how prevalent assault is. We know what's happening way more than we're willing to. Charlie Kirk said, oh, you think 1 in 5 women are being raped? Yeah. Even 1 in 40 is the other statistic. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And the same communities that doubt those statistics, all of a sudden they're so, you know what I'm saying? Okay.
And this person is not a streamer or content creator, but obviously that does not matter. And because of this, I cannot in good conscience sit here knowing that I know critical information about someone that almost no one else does and not say anything. I think that most issues and dramas should stay private and off the internet. And I still...
See, even saying that, I think most issues and dramas should stay off the internet. why are we calling this drama? Okay. And yeah, most issues just stay off the internet, but they don't stay off the internet, do they? They're all out there. So it's interesting the way she's doing that, but she's been trained to do this. This is how people are brought up to think, right?
I will hold that belief to this day, and I will hold that belief going forward. However, there are certain things that cross the line, and I say that the line has been crossed too many times to be count. There's a point where I believe that people deserve to know. I think that at a certain point, if you know a lot of things about someone and you don't say anything to look out for others, it's wrong. It's wrong to keep it to yourself. I don't want what happened to me or what has happened to other people because of him to happen to other people. And I don't believe he will ever stop behaving the way he does. But regardless, yeah, like I said, one of the main reasons I decided to do this stream is to come out about all of this because I can't hold on to it any longer because it feels wrong to do so. And an honorable mention reason for why I'm doing this is that for a while, he has been indirectly threatening me through my friends and people that I work with. They've informed me that he said that if I ever talked about anything he did, he would try to create a smear campaign against me in retaliation. I was told that he even approached other streamers who were close with us back when we lived together, asking them if they would join with him, and they all refused. At TwitchCon, he approached one of my employees, threatening them and saying if I ever talked about him, he would destroy me. Multiple people have told me that his plan was to claim that I kill animals and that I killed my own rabbits, since I had several of my rabbits pass away over the course of 3 years while I lived with him.
I think this is important too, that we pay attention to the fact that Mizkif had gone to other people and things are happening behind the scenes, but nobody knows as much as everybody thinks and everyone's under different impressions. I think that's why at some point everyone should just like, this is what I knew, this is what people said, and also we need to start reorganizing our communities. We need to start saying like, who am I actually friends with? Who am I coworkers with? Who do I barely know and I'm doing content with? And I think it should be a new disclaimer we tell our audiences. I think our audiences should actually know who is close and who is working together. Because I think one of the reasons a lot of these communities rose to prominence during COVID was that people were living vicariously through their little friend groups. But the dilemma is like, nobody was like necessarily friends. And some people are even dating, but not everyone is doing that equally. Not everybody is friends with everybody. Okay. I know with some people, they were surprised Ludwig said he wasn't friends with Hassan, but that makes total sense to me. But they're like, isn't Cutie friends with Hassan? So your partner being friends with somebody like doesn't mean they're friends with you. Also, like, obviously Ludwig is very problematic, right? And like very much like a Cutie dating him is like ridiculous. They're not even high compatibility partners. Like, but also like, it's a sign that she's not as progressive as she thinks she is, but she's also not as progressive as she thinks she is. We'll talk about it tomorrow, okay? So again, like when we talk about these things and we have these conversations, we have to understand that it didn't just come out of nowhere. These streamers are not the originators of these problems. These are systematic problems. These are cultural problems. These individuals are all responsible for their life, but they are not the first ones to go through this. They are not going to be the last ones. We have to ask ourselves, are we going to break this cycle to the best of our ability, right? Like, what are we going to do to break this exact cycle, right? Okay. Chet says the problem is that friends are thrown around when it just means colleagues. For sure. And I do that. I say friends because I don't know what else to call people. But you're right, like colleagues, like we're colleagues. But also, what does that mean? Like sometimes I just want a friend I know online, but that I never want to meet in person. Or sometimes I say like, yeah, I guess if we meet in person, it's fine, but I don't want to make the effort. Or like sometimes I like, that's the problem when you grow up in a world where like we even talk about larger community. Like I want to be good to my neighbor, but I don't want to invite them over for dinner. These are things we should just start saying out loud, even though it's difficult. Like, yeah, I'm okay with collabing with you, but I don't want to like see you at my house personally. Or like, I'm happy to do the neighborhood potluck with you, but I don't want to invite you over to my house in general, or I don't want to confide in you. You know what I mean? Like all of these other things. It's interesting. It's difficult, right? It's difficult. And also like, I understand that like apparently Asman came out and said he never would have started OTK with Mizkif if he knew this would happen. But like he started it with Mizkif, right? As far as I know. Again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong about anything, of course. But like from my understand, like, you know, they had Mizkif on the pod. Like he was around even after he hid that sexual assault. So again, like we make excuses for people. We're all responsible, but do not let these people be more responsible than the predators themselves. Okay. So remember, hold everybody appropriately accountable. This is where people really fuck up. We do not know how to hold people appropriately accountable. We always want to hold people to the same standard. Not everyone did the same amount of offense, okay?
I'm sure he's probably listening now, and it's probably going to come as quite a shock to him that this information made its way back to me and that I've known for months. But if you try to threaten me to stay quiet, especially using my poor dead animals, I'm not going to stay quiet. Okay. So now that I've explained all the reasons why this took so long and why I made the decision to do this stream, I have a few more things I would like to get out of the way before I start talking about all of this. The way that I'm going to do this today is I'm going to run through everything from the beginning to the end to try to get across the story as accurately and fully as I can. And, hold on. Also, we're going to be showing a few screenshots validating what I'm saying. I have more things, but this is what I felt comfortable using today. And, I will be running through those later. Another thing that I'd like to mention before I start is that during my statement, I'm going to be mentioning directly the names of about half a dozen other creators who were present for certain things. And I want to say that none of these people did anything wrong. I'm just saying that they were there, and I've asked all of them permission. They all said that it was fine to include their names, but I know this won't stop everyone, but I ask people, for the streamers that I mentioned, please don't go bothering them or asking them for more information. If there's something else that they want to say, they'll say it themselves, so there's no point to go pester them and bother them about it. There are also streamers who gave me permission to share things that they relayed to me privately, but asked me to redact their names, which I, of course, did. And the last thing that I want to make clear is that not every person that I interact with or that I'm friends with knew the extent of all of these things, and in fact, most of them didn't, and some of them didn't even know anything at all. I tried to keep things private with my close friends, but if anyone during the past year ever approached me asking questions, I didn't lie and I told them the truth. But, yeah, I don't want there to be some kind of witch hunt like, oh, you know, you knew and this, no, a lot of people, you know, didn't know everything or didn't know anything. Okay, I think that's,
I want to say too, it's very important that we're very careful about a victim coming forward and right away being like, yeah, but weren't you complicit? It's very important we give the victims time to come forward and then to do their due diligence to hold themselves accountable. Because again, one of the reasons a lot of victims don't come forward is they feel like, well, they were bad too. And because they engaged, now they're complicit. So she dated a predator or a guy who was complicit in hiding a predator's actions. Okay. She dated a guy who assaulted her, and you know, she has to contend with that reality. It's very difficult to deconstruct all of these things. It's very hard for us to also again, nothing's as black and white and clear as possible. So you have to be very careful with your need to be like, Emru has to be held accountable. Emru is in many ways starting that journey already by being able to do this stream and say, I dated a man. I didn't speak out about this man. I kept it secret until I thought he could hurt other people, which is a very common decision to be made as a victim, right? So we have to be very kind and compassionate to how complicated these situations are and how common they are. So before you start being like, she's a bad person, so blah, 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 blah. I know we talked about that earlier. All of these things are true, but that's why I say it's very hard to be a good person. It's really hard because while we're trying to be a good person, we also protect bad people. He's young. He grew up in a bad neighborhood. That's just how he is. I want to protect him. They grew up in a bad family. Their family abused them. We want to help them. We want to help people who grew up badly because we know that if they had been raised in a different environment, maybe they wouldn't have been this person. And so by helping people, protect bad people. It's how the cycle of redemption works. And that's why it's so difficult, right? Why does a therapist bother helping a rapist in therapy? Why don't we just give up on them? Because there is a reality in which you can contend with the reality that you rape somebody and you can hold yourself accountable. But when you come back to, quote, society, it's not going to look the way you think it is. See, Miskiv holding himself accountable, that other girl, what was her name? Nina and Zoe, who assaulted Zaid, holding themselves accountable should mean, in my opinion, disappearing from the internet. Getting a different job, doing a different thing with your life. that ultimately you coming back to stream is not what accountability looks like, right? You going away does. Now, separate from that, I hope for the victims who found themselves in this situation, they recognize that the spaces they're in aren't actually safe for them. And this is really hard for people to process, right? When I was at one of the worst moments in my life, my parents were there to support me. When I told my parents I was assaulted, I didn't get any tears. I didn't get any support. I didn't get any interest or curiosity or anything. What I got was, I'm sad you were in that situation. I wish you could protected yourself better. Why were you in that situation? That is a question that I have an answer for now. I know why I was in that situation. And though I'm not responsible for my assault, I guarantee you I will never be in that situation again. That does not mean I won't be assaulted again. And that is the reality of our life, that we should avoid situations in which it will add to the probability of assault, but we can never guarantee we won't be assaulted. We can never, ever guarantee it. And that is so difficult for people to process because they really believe if you just do everything perfectly, you'll never be assaulted. That's not how life works. We don't do anything in order to guarantee nothing will happen. We do it to bring down the probability. Okay? We do it to bring down the probability. So why are we cautious around men who are misogynistic? Because it will bring down the probability that they will misuse us and mistreat us and see us as something that they feel entitled to. Okay? Why are we hesitant around people who are obsessed with age gap relationships? So we can protect children and protect younger people. Okay? It's not to say that in some magical land, some 19-year-old and 50-year-old aren't having the time of their lives. It's to say that probability-wise, that 19-year-old is probably being taken advantage of by that 50-year-old, and we should do something about it. Okay? So again, I know this is difficult, and I just want us to be so kind and compassionate when you think about these topics. It is never going to be easy to talk about these things or do something about it, but there is something to do. You can do something about this. One step at a time, one deep breath at a time, one foot in front of the other. I just think sometimes people want it to be like black and white, is it bad or is it good? Guys, it's all bad, right? It's bad to take advantage of each other. It's bad to misuse each other. It's bad to get angry and hurt each other. It's bad to cheat on each other. It's bad to lie to each other. All of it is bad. But we're not going to stop doing it overnight either. So how do we do things in a way that reduces harm, right? Okay, back to the video.
All that I have to get out of the way to start.
Exactly. Jet said that's what perpetuates the cycle, thinking that it's okay that bad things happen to us because we've done bad. Or thinking, well, if Brittany says it's really hard to be a good person, so if Brittany says it's hard to be a good person, then I guess there's no reason to be a good person. No, I just want to say that it's hard because a lot of people are walking around the world thinking they're good people, like a Miss Kiff. Guarantee you, Miss Kiff, okay, and Stephen Bonnell go to bed every night thinking they're good people. And I want you to process that information. Trump goes to bed every night thinking I'm a good person. And I just want you to process that information and wonder, how about these people that said they would vote for Trump or support Trump? Tectone goes to bed every night thinking I'm a good person. Just think about that. Okay?
So, this is public information. I initially moved in. Sorry.
And then, how about this? Break your brain. Contend with the reality that philosophically, they're all good enough. But they're not good enough. Everyone is good enough, but they're not good enough. Human beings are animals evolved over millions of years. We are biologically, hey, it is what it is. But also we can be better. This is the problem with existential dread, because you loop into nihilism, which I don't want you to go there. I don't want you to be nihilistic. I want you to liberate yourself from this idea that you can control 8 billion people, and instead you can offer them a different path and offer yourself a different path. Okay? That's what I'm saying. All those people that voted for Trump, all these people that support Asmin, all these people that even with all the evidence, they make excuses for these men. Just wait until you see tomorrow's podcast, okay? We have to do our due diligence to explain how difficult it is, how truly difficult it is to be a good person, okay? How truly difficult it is to be a good person. And then we still have to try to be a good person, okay?
I'm still sick, like I said. this is all public, obviously, this part. I moved in with him, I believe it was the end of 2021, because he offered. I was living alone at the time, and I was having stalker issues in Kansas, and I mean, you guys know like all the stuff that happened there. I ended up joining the org and everything. We did a lot of streams together, and I mean, a lot of people already know this, but I'm just gonna come out and say it. We started dating. We were in a relationship starting January 2022 after I joined OTK. I'm not planning to go into too much detail about the start of the relationship because it honestly doesn't really matter at this point. It's irrelevant now. The only things that really matter that you guys need to know for the story are that it was, one, an extremely private relationship. It was even hidden from friends and people in the org, but I mean, obviously people all eventually figured it out. They're not fucking stupid. And second, it was an extremely codependent relationship, which it's not the issue, but let's just, making that clear for details. He initially portrayed himself to me as someone who was very nice to girls and wanted to help me feel safe from stalkers and wanted me to succeed as a teammate. And
they always do. Performative men are dangerous. Okay? But performative anybody is dangerous. Okay? White people that say they're not racist. Cutie Cinderella. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Okay? Men who say they care about women's rights. Men who say they're pro-trans or pro-gay, but they're chasers. Do you know what I'm saying? We have to be careful about when people say, oh, I support marginalized community X. I'm a safe space for X. Are you? Because it is very hard to be a safe space for a community that has been marginalized and we have been brainwashed to believe is bad. We grew up in white supremacy, in transphobia, in misogyny. So what work have you done to deconstruct the way you were raised to confirm that you actually are a safe space? Because until I hear a person say, this is the work I've done, it's not enough to be not racist. You also have to be anti-racist. It's not enough to be like, well, trans people can just live how they are. Do you actually understand trans people? Okay? And so we have to talk about that. And separate from that, we also have to talk about how we and our families are generational curse breakers, right? So I always said to myself, we'll talk about this again tomorrow. It's a privilege to cut off family that's racist and homophobic. And it's also a privilege to keep them in your life. And we have to talk about those realities. How am I supposed to break that generational curse if I abandon people? But sometimes, how am I supposed to break that generational curse if I keep going to the barbecues? These are great questions. These are complicated, situations. That's why we have to know who we are in the story. Are we the people who cut off family? Or are we the people who still sit there to challenge them? Because on the same front, minorities have said, stop, not talking to your family. So then we have to talk to them. Talk to your family so we don't have to do it. So then in some ways, who's going to be that person? Right? Like, my gay brother, I hold him to no obligation to talk to my parents, but I am willing to talk to my parents if they deconstruct. So I put a new boundary in place with my parents, as you guys know. If you're willing to have these conversations, we can talk. Until you're willing to have these conversations, we're not going to talk. Okay? Because again, at some point, you have got to make people have the conversation, even if it's uncomfortable. When you're ready, I will have this conversation with you. But until then, we are not going to pretend like everything is okay. Okay? That's the thing, right? Chess says something to remember. Miskiff did have a lot more female guests and co-streamers than other people with patriarchy goggles. He might have actually seemed more safe. Exactly. That's the conundrum. Chess says, and he wasn't a committed monogamous relationship when he originally invited her. This is the problem. All these men who feel like safe spaces to you. And again, this is such a binary gendered conversation we're having because of the people involved. But realistically, cheating, rape, assault happens in all communities. All genders experience it. No one is exempt. So obviously we're talking also within a framework because none of these people are progressive. Remember that. Miskiff is not progressive. Emmy is not progressive. These are not feminists. These are anti-feminists. So please remember that when we're in this bubble and we're talking about this conversation, we're not even talking about feminism because none of these people believe in it. These people are anti-feminists. So remember that, okay? We have to remember the language they're using, the way they're talking about the conversation. They're not even progressive girls, okay?
Grew very close over time, and I was very dependent on him for feelings of safety, social life, like my stream, my job, everything. So yeah, besides it being a very codependent relationship,
Codependent relationship is a very interesting wording. Codependency, I don't know if she means it in the pop psych way or an actual like therapeutic, like, hey, you guys are codependent, but I would say without a doubt toxic. Okay. Without a doubt toxic. And then of course it ends up being abusive.
the start of it was fine. I saw a lot of people mentioning this. They thought this was what I was going to talk about. It's not a secret. I think everyone who paid attention knew that he was very controlling over what I wore, to a degree, who I was friends with, and even when I would stream.
Jesus.
So when it was definitely slow over time that bad things started happening. At the start, it would be things like, for example, he would throw bottles, like plastic bottles with liquid in it, not like glass bottles, at me, despite me telling him like I didn't like it and it scared me and I bruised very easily. He would throw his phone at me. I would tell him, it scared me, I don't like it. And one time it even hit me in the eye, which caused me to get a black eye, but he always, was like, oh, it's an accident. And I was like, oh yeah, it's an accident. Like, of course I'm not gonna think that, he's, yeah, I just, at the time, I just kind of was, I just brushed it off. And looking back now, I feel like that was kind of the start of him testing my boundaries, if that makes sense.
That's what they do. They test the boundaries. Everybody is always testing everyone's boundaries, good and bad. Healthy relationships also boundary test. Toxic relationships boundary test. The why is different. This is what's key. This is how you get fucked up by a toxic person. A toxic person does a boundary test and you think, okay, but they're doing it as a healthy person. No. So that's the hardest part to realize. Like, what in a normal healthy relationship, one thing can look one way and in a toxic one looks another way. Obviously throwing a phone and a bottle at somebody, okay, generally speaking, isn't healthy. And this does not include you and your buddies throwing stuff at each other because you think it's funny, which I think, that's separate. Okay, that can be healthy, like throwing shit at each other and, but then it's the venom behind it. Why are you throwing it at your partner that already said, or your friend that already said, or your brother that already said, I don't like it? So the question is, when someone says, I don't like this, how fast are you to refrain from doing it? Okay, how fast are you, you know what I mean? Yeah, Chad said, how far can I push you versus how can we be safe? Exactly. And same thing when you're, as a person, learning your boundaries, you always go up to the line and cross them just a bit to be like, okay, there's the line, because we got to figure out the line. And this is how you gaslight yourself and convince yourself that these toxic relationships you're in, oh, you're just exaggerating. It's fine. It will get better, because you keep giving them, you keep looking at it through the lens of they can't be bad, right? I wouldn't choose a bad person. Like, there's no way I would fall for this, right? I wouldn't choose this. I wouldn't put up with abuse. Everyone always thinks like I wouldn't put up with abuse until you start going to therapy and realize like, I think I might have been abused, because you tell yourself it's not abuse if I know what's happening. It's not abuse if I know he's loud and angry. It's not abuse if X, Y, Z. And the question is, can good people abuse people? Yes. I think good people do bad things every day, because of the way we are products of our environments. Yes. Yes. That's why we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But we also need to refresh the bathwater. Okay?
So that was already kind of starting to show signs within the first 6 months of me and him being close. And then
actually, a really great conversation about this that I think is so powerful. It's so good. We might even bring it up again tomorrow. It's so good. But this is my favorite generational curse that people are breaking. This is my favorite generational curse people are breaking.
Spanking children is domestic
Absolutely.
violence. Parents
Domestic
spanking
violence.
children is domestic
Absolutely.
violence.
Absolutely. It's not love.
I mean, if a man treated his wife the way that we think it's okay to treat our children, that would unquestionably be domestic violence.
Yes.
But when you say, like, wow, even as much as your work as I've read, you calling domestic violence feel like, wow, really? But I mean, yeah.
It's contrary to everything we've been taught about corporal punishment. Hitting children is the only form of domestic violence that we call love and for your own good. Think about it this way. If I hit you or you hit me in this moment, somebody's going to jail.
Sure.
Felony offense. If we walk down the street and smack a dog, we're going to get in trouble for that. But hitting children, this is the only group where it is codified in law. In every state, there is a law that tells you how you can appropriately hit a child.
Exact. This is my favorite because I grew up being hit myself. I've spanked kids before. Absolutely. This is my favorite generational curse to work on because it is so important. It's so important. It's so needed. And yet I have family that hits their kids, that spanks their kids, right? And every year that goes by, I'm like, are we still doing that? Because again, it is better for these kids to be in homes where they are spanked than to be pulled away from their homes. But at the same time, we need to retrain our adults not to hit kids and stigmatize it in a way that changes people's behavior, okay? Like, again, we need to rethink these relationships, okay? Like, and this is the problem. And we'll talk about this again tomorrow. Like, most parents are kind of like good enough, but that still needs to get better, right? Like, you're good enough, but that's not good enough. Okay, most parents are good enough, but that's not good enough. I grew up in a home that was medium traumatized. You wouldn't call CPS, but you wouldn't condone it either. And that's really important to recognize. Okay, I would not have done good if I was pulled away from my home, right?
And again, a very public situation. The end of 2022, the cover-up allegations happened.
Oh, that's that's the Miss Kiff playing 4D chess, trying to cover up an assault.
I said all that's public. You can find all that, see like what I said during that, everything. After that happened, his behavior started getting a lot worse.
Does anybody know what Emmy did during that time? Because I think that's what's so important is, what did she do? What happened? Because I think this is what's interesting about the world is like, I don't believe in prisons. I believe in accountability. And we have to, like, what does a person need to do before they're, quote, locked up? And what does a person need to do before they're held accountable? Because I just watched this episode with Chelsea Fagan where this husband financially did financial emotional infidelity on his wife. And Chelsea said, I kind of am angry that he didn't pay the price and like get locked up basically. And the wife was like, I didn't want to lock up my kid's husband. And in a sense, and I wasn't sure because the woman was black if her husband was black, but do we really need more people in prisons or do we need more people held accountable? Right? That's the dilemma is like, I don't want you in prisons. I want you held accountable. I don't want you free either if you've done something really horrible. But I think this weirdness from Chelsea to say like, oh, I really want, I'm progressive, but also did he go to prison is so weird to me. Why? I just don't think that's the answer. But that's also, and I accept this, that the way my brain works, I'm sorry, is at this point where I am trying to go for the actual aim, the actual goal. And most people are just trying to pick up the pieces. And I'm looking towards the future of like, what's the future supposed to be? And I understand that might be too fast for people because they're like, wait, Brittany, like what do we do to get there? Okay. Right. Let's see. Chet says at the time he was dating Maya and then she dated him after. Yeah. So Maya also, I think, as far as I know, has like either spoken up or at least there's videos going around of Maya and him being abusive towards her. Right. Chet says she probably didn't talk about it because it was a quote drama and they were publicly connected through OTK. Yeah, I think that's the problem is like, I remember when it happened, I was streaming, but I didn't know enough about the bubbles. I don't think I covered it. Do you guys remember? I don't remember covering it on stream. I just remember like going like, what is this? And I think I was upset about it, but I don't think I don't remember the details very much. Or maybe I did stream about, I don't remember, but I never liked Miss Kiff or anything. So I don't know much about him. Yeah, but I think that's the problem is like, why do we have friends in our lives or why do we have people in our lives? And people don't always know what's happening behind closed doors as well. I think that's the issue. And also, what do you do when victims ask you not to say anything? Because that's happened to me most of the times. I have things I know about men, public figures, but the victims beg me, please don't tell anybody, please don't say anything. And now I feel like a little frustrated that they told me, even though they needed support at the time, because now it feels like I'm holding on to information that I should say. But then also like, what does it mean to go buy their hat back and then get them attacked? Like, because if I say their truth for them and then they're harassed and God forbid killed, that's on me. But then if this predator goes and does something to somebody, that's on us. This is what's hard about being a person. It is. This is why people isolate and don't have friends. This is why we choose to isolate sometimes, because it's like, this sucks. I hate, there's no good thing. There's nothing good. There's nothing good.
Which, I mean, I suppose it makes sense. You know, he was very stressed. A lot of stuff was happening, but the bad behavior was ramping up, and I feel like it's so apparent if, like, you know, you go back and watch anything from that time. I tried so hard to help him and be there for him because I really believed in him, and I wanted him to, you know, get better and get back on his feet.
Yes. We've all been here, girls. Doesn't this sound like all of us? We want him to get better. We believe in him. We didn't want to give up on him. And then look how we're punished for it. Look how we're punished for believing in the goodness of men. Not men, the gender, but men in this particular bubble.
And be the person that, you know, I always believed that he was. But that, unfortunately, did not really happen. For a long time, I think about a year and a half from when that all happened, it was kind of like slow things getting worse. But I mean, honestly, I'm not even gonna bother going into the details of all of that because there's just too much to cover, and it's honestly kind of not really relevant to the rest of what I'm saying because the rest of what I want to say is a lot worse. There was a point where things really took a turn for the worst. Like, it felt like, you know, like a very delicate branch just kind of snapped. So, and again, a lot of people are like vaguely aware of this, but I'll explain it for people who aren't, you know, chronically tapped into all that stuff. So for a long time after the like cover-up allegations happened and he was like starting to kind of struggle on his stream, he never wanted to stream at the same time as me. Like, we really avoided it. And to me at the time, it made sense because, you know, I was like, well, of course, like, you know, we share a lot of community members. If we're live at separate times, we're both going to perform better. You know, it makes sense. But, yeah, we were never really live doing the same thing at the same time for a long time, with the exception of, like, things like events or sponsors or, like, you know, just special things. For a very long time. And a lot of you guys probably noticed that I would only usually stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That was, because of him. And now I stream whenever I want, but the first time that we ever streamed at the same time was for the 2024 Rust Kingdoms event on Twitch. We were sharing drops, so it was the first time in a very long time that we were both going to be live at the same time doing the same thing, basically. I know you're probably like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? But it'll make sense in a bit. So I'm live, he's live, we're both streaming, and like I said, you can go find all of this. This is public, there are clips of this. We're both streaming the Rust event, and I thought it was going really well. I thought everyone was having fun. I was like, oh, this is great. Everyone's, you know, doing the same thing at the same time. We're all hanging out, you know, we're gonna have fun. Like, I was really, really excited. And then I start seeing in my chat, people start saying,
You guys are saying, she said it well. It's serious allegations. She knew Miss Kiff and the whole story. She took a step back from streaming until the controversy blew over. For an article in September 2022, Chet says, I can find it if you want, but there's a small clip of them both streaming at the same time, and she gets like 5K more views than him, and his mood dips. You see her on stream. You see on her stream him slamming doors. Chet says, Miss Kiff is famously insecure about stream viewership, and it would be funny if it didn't lead to him attempting to hurt and manipulate people. Chet said it's insane. She tells the chat she needs to use the bathroom, and then comes back later and she's crying as if she's been crying for 20 minutes. I'm not surprised. You know, I think about this all the time. Is there a healthy online community? I do think they exist. I think they're considered a more, quote, normie. And I think the dilemma is there is a temptation to want to be in this space in a sense. Do you remember when Hank Green went on Destiny's Reddit and then even the Reddit was like, get off here, Hank Green, you're too good for this space? I think in order to remain kind of wholesome, you also sort of have to be away from the ugliness of the world. I think the reason I did find myself attracted to the Debate Bro bubble was because they were having conversations that at least felt a little bit more honest than the wholesome YouTubers who never talk about genocide. It's like, can we please talk about a genocide happening? Can we please talk about these things? Can we please talk about men? Like, can we please talk about women? Can we please talk about issues? The dilemma is like, the worst people you know are trying to have these conversations, and the best people you know are having the conversations, but they're not in your space. You know? So the question is, how do you build community with people who are having serious conversations, but in ways where they actually want to do something about it, right? I can't tell you how many panels I was on, and I was like, are we being serious? Like, this isn't even a serious conversation right now. Like, this is not problem solving. That's why when I watch Emaru, and I watched this situation, I know it didn't start with Emaru and it won't stop with Emaru. It started before her and will continue after her. She is once again exactly the stereotype of exactly why this happens. The question is, how do we prevent it for future Emarus? How do we prevent it for future victims, regardless of gender? And this is so much harder to figure out, but it starts with forgiving ourselves for being such horrible people and then trying to get better. I can't tell you how many women I know who are so pathetically convinced, and I say pathetic because I think that's a really important word here, convinced that married men will love them and pick them. Girls, come on now, lock in. Okay, how many people will not accept that they are surrounded by bad people because they themselves believe this is the best they can get? How many times younger Brittany just justified being in toxic relationships with toxic people because his childhood was hard, or because she thought, like, what else could I have? Like, I could never see myself with a truly wholesome, like, really well, like, meaning person, because at the end of the day, I am a little too fucked up, and I do sometimes wish I wasn't, but I'm a little too fucked up to be in a bubble where like everything is sunshine and daisies. And at the same time, thank God I'm a little fucked up, because those people are certainly not caring about race issues or gender issues or trans issues. Those people don't have to. Their life is too good to worry about racism or transphobia. And so there's a part of you that really romanticizes being fucked up a little bit, because at least my fucked upness allows me to have a sense of justice. But then why do I have to be fucked up? Why can't I care about justice without being fucked up? And then if you're too fucked up, you can't care about justice because you're too fucked up. This is the part of radical acceptance that's hard. We have to accept that we're all fucked up, even the ones who don't think they are. Because like Chad said, those people who don't think they're fucked up and we don't perceive as fucked up uphold patriarchy and white supremacy. That's pretty fucked up. It just looks different. The fucked upness looks different. So, how do you make sure that your fucked upness leads you to being a better person? You Uncle Iroh it. Uncle Iroh was a fucked up person when he was younger. He literally was on board with the Fire Nation belief systems. Just because he was a little bit more chill about it, okay, doesn't mean he wasn't on board, bro. And then eventually he deconstructed and got off of that wagon and rose up to fight against the Fire Nation. We all want to be Uncle Iroh, but sometimes I think we all want to give ourselves credit while we're still in Fire Nation gear on a ship. You can't give yourself credit until you're off the ship, bro. Until you actually start to take off the uniform, you know?
Unofficial Ms. raid, and I'm like, what does that mean? And then I check my Discord messages, and he's messaging me. He's saying, like, Emmy, you know, I'm gonna kill myself. I waited, or I'm gonna KM.
Well, Chet says, didn't it take his son dying for him to reflect? Well, it took his son dying to start the process. But remember, he was still a part of the Fire Nation when he was Zuko, trying to save Zuko. See, Uncle Iroh was the girl who's trying to save the boy. I can fix him. Until Uncle Iroh realizes he also can't save Zuko and he has to go save himself, right? So remember that even Uncle Iroh was helping Zuko, was still a part of the Fire Nation, was still allowing him to search for the Avatar, right? He was still helping Zuko fulfill Fire Nation propaganda, right? So it wasn't until he abandoned Zuko in a way that was necessary for him to really start to grow. That's why I say Iroh doesn't even reach level 5 until he is in Korra. You know?
Yes, I waited so long for this, etc. Basically he was upset because I had higher viewership than him. That's literally it. I had higher viewership than him. And like I said, this is during an event, so there were drops. Like, everyone knows when there's drops, like, it's not even fucking real, but yeah, he starts messaging me. He's really upset. I tried to tell him, I was like, bro, you should come back and play. Everyone's having fun. Everyone's like wondering where you are. But yeah, he ended his stream. And then I'm still live, you know, trying to act like nothing's wrong. And in that house, I had a glass door so I could like see this was happening. He was walking behind me, making sure that I knew he was there. And by the way, so there were many ways out of that house if he wanted to leave the house that were closer to his stream room. He intentionally chose the door that was right by my room. I feel like that's pretty apparent, at least to me. He starts walking behind my stream and slamming the door so loud that my noise gate can pick it up. So even people on my stream are able to hear this is happening. And he slams it so hard and so many times that the front door literally broke. The lock did not work anymore. It didn't work for months, and it would just make this.
Okay, let's see here.
Like, we haven't pillaged.
You hear it?
Like, we haven't had to do what we had to do to make it here. Where we she had a one-hit advantage. She was coming after me. I had to attack back.
What the fuck is this?
What are you? Was that a test?
You see her trying to keep it together.
Well, I have some cloth in my house.
Let me check my body real quick. Did anyone?
He's slamming the door.
Go to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, so then she leaves to go to the restroom, and apparently she comes back to stream. Okay.
But Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression.
Oh, that's Miz trying to like cover his steps now that Emmy put out her video. So Emmy was also violent, guys. She threw plushies and clothes. Well, he threw bottles and phones at her. Remember, this is what happened with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. We believe Johnny Depp's bullshit, even though it had been proven that Johnny Depp was violent beyond redemption and Amber was retaliatory, like Emmy was retaliatory. That's why when I learned that abuse wasn't actually mutual, toxicity might be an environment, but usually one person is truly the abuser and one person is usually retaliating, okay? And that's Emmy. Emmy's retaliating by throwing plushies. And he's like, see, she was also abusive. Amber Heard was recording Johnny and trying to figure things out. Oh, see, she was also abusive. But it didn't actually work out that way. Okay? This is why you have to look for patterns. This is why I should have known better when Amber and Johnny first came out. I should have known better. I should have known better that I was being bamboozled. But I thought to myself, I don't want to always assume the man is the predator. Okay, and there, you know, 80% is going to be the man for sure. But also, we always want to pay attention. Okay, but this is so, isn't this so exactly the same thing? It's such a pattern. It's not always the same pattern, but it's often the pattern. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised Miss Kiff is like, oh, it was mutually abusive. No, bro.
This horrible sound that I would have to hear like every fucking day, but. Anyway, so I hear him back there doing this, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I tell my stream, I'm like, hey, guys, I'll be right back. I get up and I go talk to him, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, Emmy, like, I hate all you guys. Like, all you guys do is just take from me, and like, I'm just done. Like, I'm just done. And I was like, is this like really happening because of Rush Drops? And he was like, I don't know what else to do. He was like going off on me, like basically saying that he hated me. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do now. And he was like, go finish your stream so that people don't know anything's wrong. And I stop in the bathroom outside my stream room and I'm like, you know, checking my makeup, trying to make sure people can't tell that I was like crying. And I'm only in there for like 30 seconds and he comes and like looms in the doorway. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just checking my makeup. So I go back and I stream for a couple hours to finish the stream. Do my best to just like, you know, carry on the show basically. And yeah, after that, like I said, was when things started to get really fucking bad. It was like something just snapped. For the rest of the week, he streamed the Rust event. He got all the drop viewers. I'm sure he was very happy. I mean, good for him. And during that time, I obviously was like thinking and processing a lot of what happened. But I mean, it was a lot because this person was at the time like kind of it was like my partner and my best friend and like the only person that like I really talked to ever, or like at least off stream. So I mean, it was a lot. But the very next stream, I went live about a week after that, and I announced that I was planning to move because I knew that I would have to move. So I was like, okay, I have to go live to say this so that, you know, kind of force myself to commit to it. Right? Does that make sense? Obviously, I didn't move out right away, but after like all of that Rust stuff happened was when the other domestic abuse stuff really started. He would destroy furniture in front of me.
Ugh.
He would throw things in front of me and near me. Destroy walls. Again, you can go see this in some of his VODs in his bedroom, the holes in the wall. There would be times where he was upset at me, and I would go to my stream room and literally lock myself in to get away from him, and he would be banging on the door and screaming at me. And at the time, he also would more often do things like going, like if we were driving in the car together, he would be going like 150 miles an hour.
Ooh.
And like one time he even said like, well, now we're both gonna die, like threatening to kill both of us. And this wasn't like even necessarily because of me or like because of something I did a lot of the time. Like one of the times that it happened, it was because we were just getting food and he was on his phone and he saw that Mr. Beast had put out a video, and Mr. Beast had invited another streamer, and he was like, oh, Mr. Beast invited this guy to his video, not me. And I was like, oh, well, you know, like, huh, yeah, I guess so.
Who is Miskiff? Who is he? I don't even know who he is. Like, I know his face because of everything, but who is he that he would even think to be jealous? Like, who is he? You know what I'm saying? Is he a big streamer and I don't get it? Like, I don't understand how big this guy is that he would even care that Mr. Beast did invite him. And also, who are you to even care? But like, what, does this guy have the right to even think he's like big? I don't get it, dude. What?
Which led to him going 150 miles per hour in the car and talking about killing himself while doing it.
This is okay. It's interesting because I do think like, and this is, you know, we have to ask ourselves like, how does this happen? Why do people feel so entitled? I'm going to talk about this next podcast I'm doing after tomorrow. So I'm doing tomorrow's on role models. And then the next week, I want to talk about the way people talk about their relationships, because there's Dax Shepard videos going viral right now where he's just talking about like domestic abuse and killing Kristen Bell. And I'm like, that's how you talk about your partner. I do think matters. I really think it matters. And he is way too violent in his rhetoric for me. And there's a reason why people don't like them together. And there's a reason why I think people settle in relationships. I don't think people are high compatible. I think a lot of people are dating the wrong people and they don't know it. I certainly have in my life, right? But I want to talk about this because it's exactly these things that lead up to like a death of a partner or something worse, right? Well, something worse than death. You know, it's really weird and I don't like it and I don't think it's okay. And so, you know, him being like, "Oh, we're in a car, we could die right now." That is so abusive. That you should feel safe with your partner. You should never feel unsafe. And I know as somebody who stayed in abusive relationships, even when I felt unsafe, I kept thinking, their childhood, they're traumatized, their childhood, they're traumatized. Listen to me when I say this, girls. If you're going to be that patient with a man, you better be his therapist. Okay? If we're going to be patient with people who are this fucked up, we better be their therapists. And wives and girlfriends are not people's therapists. Okay? This better be a job you are doing. This is not the person you're supposed to make life with, do life with, okay? Raise babies with, whatever. Share a dog with, okay? And that's what I wish I knew in my 20s. I wish I knew in my 20s that it was not my job to be my partner's therapists. Because I really did think it was.
And then at home, other things would happen. Like I'd be trying to sleep and
Sorry, and you know what they say? I can't talk to a therapist. I don't trust them the way I trust you. You're the only person I trust to tell this to. You got to go trust your therapist. So many men will say, I can't talk to a stranger about my feelings. I can only talk about I got to trust my partner. You got to talk to a professional, dude, because we're dealing with something in your head. We're dealing with something in our life. We're dealing with something like you got to talk to a person who study human behavior. That's the problem with patriarchy. It convinces us that talking to a therapist is crazy because they're a stranger. It's even better that they're a stranger. What are you talking about? Okay, this is why conservatives say, you know, even therapists need therapists, as if that's an own on therapy not working. That's what I heard my whole life. Well, if therapists need therapists, I guess therapy doesn't work. You're not understanding what therapy is. That's like saying doctors don't need doctors. That's like saying doctors don't need doctors. You know, doctors have doctors, right?
Would scream at me and say that it was all my fault that he felt insecure. There was a time that I walked into a room that he was in, and as soon as he saw me there, he threw his phone at the dresser and started yelling because I had posted a YouTube video within the same couple of days as him, and mine was doing better. So
Damn.
basically, I felt like I was kind of stuck in a loop where I felt like I had to constantly perform and like prove my value to not be thrown away. But at the same time, if I ever performed too well, I was going to be punished for it. And it just felt like a very rough situation to be stuck in because, I mean, streaming is my hobby and my job. Like, it's a huge part of my life, even before, you know, I met him and became like a larger creator. And I remember thinking all the time how it felt like he hated me, but he still wanted me around for his channel and like his thumbnails and everything. And this is still before I moved out. There was a time where it was the tension in the house was so unbearable that I would sneak out and I would sneak into Esfan's house using my code. And Esfan didn't know why I was doing this. He saw me a couple times. I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna go take a nap in your guest room. He'd be like, yeah, that's fine. I would sneak into Esfan's house just to have some time of like peace and quiet. But eventually, he figured out where I was going, and he would go over to Esfan's house to keep telling me off. And there was a time that he did it, and I was laying in the guest room bed, and one of the roommates in that house had come to see like why I was crying, and they were standing in the corner, and he came in, and he was very physically aggressive. He was like, Emmy, like, what are you doing? Like, angry. And then as soon as he turned and saw this other person standing there, he instantly, like, deflated and changed his tone. He was like, oh, Emmy, I was wondering where you were. Like, are you coming home? And that roommate, like, later asked me about it. They were like, what the fuck was that? Like, are you okay? And I was just like, oh, it's nothing. Because I felt like a lot of the reason that I didn't tell the people around me was because I felt like no one would understand, or even if they understood, it would just be a burden to them because all of our streams and social circles.
There's so much here. I can't even explain to you how typical these patterns are. Let's see this. Let's see.
Hey mods, can you do me a huge favor? Can you start banning literally anybody that ever tells me that I'm being mean to her? Emmy, can you give a disclaimer?
It's not being mean. This is just
Oh, we're going to see this later. These are screenshots.
Super fast.
150 miles an hour, and like this guy does video not.
Okay. I was just trying to see some energy of them together.
Why are your settings like this? These aren't even the default settings.
Oop.
Whoa, wait, come on.
This is my stream. You can't just be taking up all the space.
Oh my god. Okay, well then don't invite me, alright?
That's true. Every stream is your stream.
It's so crazy too, because like when I would talk to people about Emmy, the first thing people would say is like, but she hangs out with Miss Kiff. What's that about? And like, this is the problem, is like, I really wish I had never been a girl to have dated anybody even close to a Miss Kiff. But the truth is like, any girl who's done emotional labor for a man and put up with a man because he like begs her to has dated somebody in that sphere. Like, it's just like, it's so fucking typical. And that's why I say you got to go to therapy. You've got to heal. You got to read feminist literature. You've got to deconstruct gender, because it's so much easier than we want to believe. If you like, every time a person comes into my life and says like, I'm dating a toxic person, I say, deconstruct, girl. It's miserable dating these people. It's miserable dating these people. Okay. And it's not your fault. You are a victim. I'm not victim blaming, but healed people, they make different decisions, not always perfectly, but you will see a difference in your life for what you will tolerate, right? Here's him and Maya in an argument. This is the other girl.
Why you say it to me? It's funny. I don't know why you say it to me all the time. Because it's funny, Maya. It's just me trolling. I don't even realize I say it. Well, start paying attention to what you have to say, because it's getting really annoying that you do this all the time.
The fact that we've had this conversation that many times and somehow it's still not serious enough to you is annoying.
Shut up. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
This is exactly what happened, and she cannot argue this. One day, after staying over Emiru's house, Emiru made me breakfast, and she wrote down everything she wanted. She wrote she wants me to move closer to her. She wrote that she wants me to marry her, and she wants kids with me in the next 5 years. And I just looked at this letter that I was staring.
Oh. Uh-oh. Hello?
This is exactly, and I just handed her back the paper. She began to cry, and I told her, I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore. I knew we were just beyond the point of toxicity in the relationship, that our trust had completely died, and that we had so many issues that I couldn't deal with it, and I was not mentally well.
Oh my God. I am not mentally well. I'm going to abuse you if you stay with me. Whoa, this is him with Maya. Thank you, Discord. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm not talking to him today.
Well, nobody asked you to, so.
I'm not talking to him.
Okay.
Look at her face. She's so uninterested.
She said no.
Maya unimpressed. That's what that was.
2 Starbucks bags of Starbucks I got you over the past few days.
Oh my God.
Skip, that was
Throw
not
it back.
funny.
Throw it
Yeah,
back.
It better be. Oh my God, I would beat the shit out of him.
We're live.
What the fuck?
We're live, she says.
He would throw bottles, like plastic bottles of liquid in it, not like glass bottles, at me, despite me telling him like,
This is so bad. This is so bad. This is exactly what I'm saying, girls. I'm saying boys, girls, they, thems, everybody. You deserve a better environment than this. This is not cute. He is not a vampire werewolf. He's not a pirate you are trying to save. He is not the serial killer that kills everybody but you. You're next, girl. Get out of this relationship. You deserve to have a better relationship than this. All these men who cry in your lap and tell you, just give me another chance, help me, I'm wounded, go to therapy and leave me out of it. Okay? Open with boundaries. Some people, this is why I say I'm not friends with my exes. All these people that are like, oh, I'm a friend with my ex. Okay. I'm not friends with my exes. You want me to be friends with Misgift? No. No. Okay. Move on with your life. You don't got to be friends with these people. You don't have to be, you don't have to save these people. This is not your responsibility. Okay.
schools and communities are
Back
so
to the video.
intertwined. I was like, maybe it's just better for me to deal with this and like hope things get better, basically. I honestly don't even remember what the final straw was that I finally was like, okay.
You know what's crazy? Chet said it's probably so much worse off camera. I'll tell you from my own experience, I streamed only one of my relationships, okay? I was dating multiple people while I was a content creator, but out of my 4 adult relationships, only one was ever online with me, and it looked very similar to this. And people would be like, Brittany, you're dating a narcissist. Brittany, break up with him. Brittany, he's abusive. And I'd be like, no, like, da-da-da, you don't get it. We just have like a special relationship. You don't get it. Anyways, it wasn't much worse behind closed doors, but that's the point. They are not afraid of doing it in public. That guy who assaulted Emiru in public, they're not afraid. Miskiff is so confident he will get away with doing it in public, he does. Destiny was so confident he could talk about it on stream and he wouldn't get in trouble, and he is. Destiny has been found out, has literally admitted with his full chest that he took intimate videos of people and shared it without their consent, and he still has an audience who's supporting him. It doesn't matter. Trump was caught on recording saying he grabs women by the pussy and he's been voted president twice. They do not give a fuck. They do not give a fuck.
It's time to go. Like, I prepared the house that I lived in before this one, like, pretty much immediately after the, like, breaking the front door thing happened, but I was still, like, scared and unsure. So I don't remember what the final straw was, but I remember the day I took Cheddar to the house, because he just randomly started, like, screaming at Cheddar and was like, get that fucking cat out of my house. So I just grabbed Cheddar and put him in my car and grabbed his litter box and took him there, and I just left him there and never took him back to that house. And then I think like within several days after that was when I finally moved out. It was on very short notice. Like I said, I don't even remember what the final straw was because so many things happened, but there was a time when I just knew. I called some movers. I said, hey, can you come tomorrow? And they're like, yeah, and then I literally moved the next day. Moving out into the last house that I lived in was a huge step mentally because, like I said, a big part of why I moved into the first house in Texas in the first place was because I felt like it was the safest option for me because, you know, I am a girl where it's like kind of scary for me to be living alone. So it was very hard, and at the time, even though like all these other things had already happened, I was very hopeful that me and him could be cordial and like eventually like things would be fine, at least publicly, like for stream reasons that, you know, everyone could just keep streaming like nothing had happened. And, you know, at the time I thought that would be the best thing to do. And I felt like if I, you know, separated myself from him without explaining anything, people that watched us wouldn't understand and would attack me. I was yeah, I mean, it ended up happening anyway. So, but yeah. After I moved out, we, like I said, still kept in contact. I had hope that somehow things would get better. He would always beg for me.
Very typical, very normal, very predictable. We often stay in touch with people. We think they're going to get better. I can't tell you how many times I broke up with my ex thinking like, this is the last time. This is the last time. And then I'd go back thinking if I got him therapy, if I made things better. It's very normal. It's very typical. It's like you really think like, this is it. This is the moment. There, because you know, you get told, how many animes did we watch of a guy who's killed like 1,000 people in a past war, but you're the girl who comes into their life and they get better? Or like you're the friend that gets your friend to stop hating themselves. Like we're taught through media to romanticize the wounded soul. Hello, Naruto and Sasuke. Like we're taught that it's our job never to give up on our friends and our family members because like if we just love them hard enough, they'll change and they'll get better. And I think in some way that's somebody's story, but for a lot of people, this is just the reality. That no matter how much you love that person, unless they change, it's not gonna matter. It's just not gonna matter.
To come back, and he would promise therapy and change.
Yep.
And like even talk to other people and like kind of present like, oh, I want to change. I want to be better for Emmy or whatever, you know. There was a short period in October where we had broken up because, I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter now. And when that happened, I honestly felt relieved because I was like, okay, finally, it's like on his terms. So that means he'll be satisfied and he'll be able to say it was his choice and he'll leave me alone.
Yep. Oh God.
Because whenever I would try to push for it, it just...
Now, here's the truth that's really hard to recognize. And I say this to people that are struggling to watch their family and friends date somebody in this cycle. You just have to be available for them when they're ready. You can't stop people from wanting to see, right? You know how many of my girlfriends told me to break up with him? How many of my guy friends, how many people in my life were like, break up with him, Brittany? But I was like, I can fix him. If I just read the right book, if I just do therapy, and this was post-therapy, I had already gone to therapy. But I was convinced, what I learned in therapy, I could teach him. I could save him. I could, you know, be that person because I understand deeply disturbed people and I could save him. It's like this idea that like, you know, so what I think I'm grateful for the most is that people in my life were ready to always be there for me when I was ready to come back. And were open with me and saying like, girl, like I can't hear you talk about this man anymore. Like you got to make a decision. But my friends were always ready for me. And that's what I always want to be with for my friends, is like, my phone is always on for you. I can't support this relationship. I can't come to the wedding even, but I support you. And that's why I say with my friends and family, I'm open with boundaries. I love you, but I am terrified for you. And I think this shows up differently. It's not always whatever you do to support your friends, you got to think about if it's ethical. But I always try to tell my friends, like, I do not support what you're doing, but I support you wanting to be a better person. And I'm here when you're ready for that. Because it's really hard to watch your friends suffer in a way that means they have to condone the behavior of a bad person. Example, dating a racist person makes you racist. Dating a homophobic person, it makes you homophobic. Dating a transphobic. So when my girlfriends are like, hey, I'm dating this guy, I'm like, is he transphobic? What's his view on politics? They're like, and I hear, don't ruin this for me. When people in my life want me just to be excited they're dating, I'm not excited you're dating. What is their politics? I can't. Back in the day when people were dating, I'd just be happy. Oh my God, you're dating someone. That's so great. Checklist. What's his politics? What's her politics? Where does she stand on these issues? I'm not just excited. Especially not if I plan to see this person for a long time. Because if you're marrying somebody that's coming into the family, we got to go down the checklist. Okay? And yet I understand that because I have religious family, of course they're going to date homophobic, transphobic people because they're religious. So yeah, it's interesting being a community member. Because in some world, we do want to just be happy our friends are dating. But in another world, I can't be excited you're dating somebody until we've gone down the checklist. And that's interesting. I am terrified every day that my friends will marry somebody that I think is a bad person. Just think about how awkward that lunch is going to be every time I see them.
Felt like I couldn't really sever it, if that makes sense. But I mean, obviously, hence me doing the stream, that was not the end of it. A week after this breakup, he asked to come over to my...
Well, okay, hold on. Chat says the politics isn't even enough. Have they deconstructed is more useful because the worst guys I've ever dated have all been progressive. I have a new requirement that says you're not progressive unless you follow it up. I've been holding myself to a new standard in other people. Calling yourself progressive isn't enough. Because if you are really progressive, then it should show up in your actions. And I think I used to say this about Catholics and people didn't like it. I'd say you're not really a Catholic though. Because being a Catholic should mean something the same way being progressive should mean something. Being a title or label should mean something. You calling yourself that label doesn't make you that label. So I actually believe if you are progressive, then this should be the checklist, bare minimum. But everyone has a different meaning of what they mean by progressive, right? So I've been debating this conversation with a friend of mine recently where I'm like, I don't know how to tell this friend of mine that they're not progressive enough, that if they do not deconstruct, they will be a boomer. We've had the conversation 1,000 times, but what I'm trying to get them to understand is I'm not just saying it casually. I mean, quite literally, you will be a bad person. It's not enough just to think you're liberal or progressive. You know what I'm saying? So now I have this standard that says you can't, the label isn't enough. Because that's what I did with Destiny. When I came into the Destiny sphere, I was told he was progressive, non-binary, all these things. And so I allowed the label to be enough. And then I realized you're not even progressive. I should have known the moment he said Joe Biden was a good president. But that's the problem is I allowed the label to be enough because he weaponized the label to be enough. He weaponized the label. And so I say to you, it is not enough for you to have the label. I'm going to need you to back it up. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. Okay.
House and talk from closure. He came to my house and I was crying like crazy because the emotions were just very high because I was dealing with a lot of major shifts in my life as a result of me attempting to start to try to distance myself from him. So yeah, we were just talking and I was crying a lot. He started to try to comfort me by hugging me while I was sitting on the couch and holding me really close to him. And when this was happening, we hadn't talked in quite a while. And I'm usually very uncomfortable with being touched a lot by people that I'm not in a relationship with. But I let him hold me while I was crying. and he started kissing me in my face,
Ah.
and I let him do it. I was still sobbing a lot. And then, suddenly, he tried to climb on top of me
Oh,
and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants.
Oh, a girl is crying. Let me try to sexually assault her. I'm so mad. I'm so mad for her. Why do they always, when you're crying, why do they think sex when you're crying, it makes the most sense at that moment? Because you're vulnerable and your walls are down and you know what I mean? That's so gross.
And, I screamed. Yeah. And when I screamed, he jumped off me like a cat, like. And, instead of apologizing or checking if I was okay, he said, I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. I have to go. And he immediately left my house while I was.
Oh, I'm so mad for her. I'm so mad for everybody. Oh, I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. Hello? You know you did something wrong.
Still crying without, checking if I was okay or anything. And at the time, I was still making excuses for him, and I was still afraid of causing trouble for other streamers around us, or like, you know, making things weird for viewers. I know that probably sounds crazy, but like, I just felt this pressure, like I had to try.
It's really normal. It's very common. She's experiencing something that is so normal. Trust me, we all think about it. We think about the viewers. We think about our family and friends. We think about like causing issues 100%. Like whatever Emmy is expressing right now, it is a very normal thought. You worry about everybody else but yourself. Yeah.
To keep things together, if that makes sense. I felt like I'd cause trouble for so many other people if I ever said anything bad about him.
Which is why kids also don't come forward, because kids are afraid of making issues for people. They want to be good. Yeah, we don't outgrow this from children, guys. Like we really don't outgrow this into adulthood. Most adults feel like, oh, I don't want to ruin the mood. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I feel it. I feel it now. Like confronting friends about things that shouldn't even be that big of a deal. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be offensive. I don't want anyone to feel bad. I feel this now. I literally ponder. Sometimes I even loop for days about like, oh, should I bring this up? Like, I don't want to, is this offensive? I have a problem. How do I bring this up? Yeah.
Or if I caused rifts in our friend group or streamer group. I tried to stay on good terms with him and hold everything in. And also, I still cared about him a lot. And I still at that point had hope that things would get better and that, you know, he would improve. And he'd also always hammer into me how he never physically abused me because he never hit me. And he would coach me and tell me to tell people or other streamers who were asking about it because they were concerned. He would say, tell them that I never hit you. Make sure that they know that I never hit you. Around the same time.
True. Chad says that's what I mean when I say adults are often just big children. And that's why I say adulthood is high school with money. These are adults. These people are old enough to know better, but we're not old enough to do better, right? How old is Emmy? Emmy's 27, right? Like people got, you know what I mean? Like we're all old enough, but we don't know better because we're traumatized. I wonder if this bubble is going to be able to recognize how traumatized they are, how messed up they are, and how we're all so messed up. So we're high schoolers with money, right? Like that's the problem. Hold on, another clip from chat.
I don't have more viewers when I'm doing sponsors at my desktop.
You had 7,000 viewers when you were playing the Crane game.
I had 14,000 this morning IRLing at the nonprofit.
Okay, I didn't need to hear that.
He gets upset when I succeed.
No, okay. No.
Yeah, it's not uncommon, especially for men raised under patriarchy, to feel threatened when women are successful around them. Because if you understand patriarchy and you understand misogyny, there's a deep-rooted belief that women aren't as good as men. I mean, we see that when they talk about CEOs. We talk about it when we talk about who runs businesses, who runs countries. So if Miz feels emasculated or he doesn't feel good about being a man or quote what a man should be, then obviously the women around him doing well is going to be upsetting, which is why men are so jealous of women. They'll say, oh, women just need to be pretty and then they're famous on stream. Okay, well, that's obviously not true. Okay, or, oh, women just need to show up and like people will give them money. Okay, that's obviously not true, right?
used to get upset. I'm not kidding you, chat. I used to legitimately get fucking pissed because I'm like, are you fucking serious? I brought this bitch into the world, and now
Men who use the word bitch, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. Well, I'm going to start taking that word away from people. You can't say it anymore. Gay, straight, I don't care. You can't say that word anymore. Do you know what I mean? I can't trust you now to say the word. Too many men out here calling women bitch. Okay? And I'm sick of hearing it. I'm sick of hearing it from them.
all of a sudden she's fucking growing faster than I was. Because I was going like this, and she was going like this. And I'm like, what the hell is this crap? What is going on here? It's the fucking Babsity effect. So I was pissed. I'm like,
Chat says revoke his card party. Revoked. You can't say it anymore.
The fact
You
that
were
can
such a
say
pussy.
that- the fact that you can
You
say
are
that
such a pussy. You can't use that word anymore either.
and feel like it's okay that you felt that way and just be like, yeah, I was like that. Like that is crazy. That's bad.
is it bad?
Yes.
And guess what? I don't
Yes.
care anymore.
That's bad.
But I don't care anymore. And I stopped caring.
He's okay as long as I never have more viewers than him. If I ever surpassed him in viewership, which will never happen.
Oh, she'd be done.
he would
I'd
be
pull the
so-
plug.
He could not take it. He could not.
I'd pull the plug.
Which I kind of understand.
Chat, it's like if she beats me in Mario 64. That's literally what it'd be like if she has more viewers. It would feel like she 2-0'd me, and I would just not have that.
Oh my God, bro. Insufferable. Just absolutely insufferable. And look at the way we justify being in these relationships. I'm telling you right now, I am absolutely in this category of girl who's dated this category of guy. And the way you justify it is like, oh, he never hit me. Oh, he never did this. He never did this. He never did this. But then you don't think about all these other things that happened that put you in that. Your partner, and this is why I say to you, being now married to my high compatibility partner, guys, I'm telling you right now, we are a couple years into living together and we have never had a fight. We have very grown up philosophical discussions. We have hard conversations about life, but the marriage is easy. When I say like, I feel safe in this relationship always. When I say I've never had one thought in my head that questioned this relationship or questioned what I'm doing here. When I spent all of my life questioning my relationships, it's because it is so healthy and transparent. It's because we just talk about everything. It's so good. And I just want that for everybody. So you never have to make a video like this. Okay. And it's not to say it's a guarantee, right? Because like people are people. It's to say, at least I can say for now and hopefully forever, it stays this healthy and this good because we do the work to keep it that way. It only stays this way if we maintain our deconstruction. And I'm lucky I married somebody who's always willing to deconstruct, who's always willing to like call themselves out, who's always willing to say, oh shoot, wait, hold up. And like, who's always, there's no like pride of like this. There's none of this like defensiveness, this like, oh, she could never beat me in Smash, she could never beat me in whatever. It's only like, you know, there's like, I was thinking about this the other day. You know, you don't want to humble people. You want people to find humility. That's what I want for everyone. I don't want a partner that I have to humble. I want a partner that seeks humility. These are two different things. When you say you want to humble somebody, you're punishing them. When you say, I want you to find discernment and humility, you're hoping for them wisdom and goodness. You want a partner that has humility. You don't want a partner that's like, always looking for, you don't want to be in competition with your partner, right? So Miskiff is just like, ooh, he's that kind of person that, ooh, you know, they're always in competition. And then you see it. You even see it with that Nina girl that tried to quote apologize for traumatizing Saeed. You see it with her. That aggressive, that sort of like arrogant, you know, I did something wrong, but also I didn't SAU. It's like, it doesn't matter if you intended. That's what happened. And that's why I say to you, this is why BoJack Horseman was such a good wrap for the show. Is BoJack is like, I'm not a predator. I'm not hiding in bushes. These women were with me. That's the thing. You can be a predator whether you see yourself as one or not. You can do things that, you know, you can break consent. And there are situations where you can break someone's consent and you guys can fix it because it will happen. Like, I don't know how to tell you guys this without horrible people taking and running with it, but you will break someone's consent. It will be like, something you don't think about, like going in for a hug before asking, kissing somebody because you think it's the moment, giving you, hitting your friend in a jokey way because you thought, consent doesn't always mean rapist. Consent is just the violation between two parties that have either agreed or, not even talked about a certain type of behavior and conduct, which I understand is a very hard concept for people to understand in a world that doesn't even care about consent to begin with. Okay. So I understand like some of the topics we cover here on the stream are way beyond people's comprehension, given that they're still learning like the basics. It's like, how many white women do we have to see touching black girls' hair before we like understand that this is a consent violation? It's a consent violation. It's a consent violation. But they don't process it. And that's why you still have to hold them accountable and say, no. You cannot touch people's hair. You cannot touch people. You cannot feel entitled to people's bodies in space. Okay? But again, this is learned behavior. How do we teach kids from a young age, you are not entitled to touching people? Okay? Which is why when my nieces and nephews go, Auntie Brittany, I don't want to hug right now. I go, okay, no problem. Instead of, you have to hug me, I'm your auntie. I go, okay, no problem. That's what I say. Okay, no problem. They don't have to hug me if they don't want to hug me. And let me tell you, that is breaking a generational curse right there. Some generational trauma about to be healed because my nieces and nephews certainly do not have to hug me just because I'm their auntie. Okay.
This was during OnlyFans too, so I guess like December-ish. He would often message me in the middle of my streams and berate me for things like playing the same class as him in WoW because he thought it would make people think that I was better than him. And again, like I said earlier, I felt like I was stuck in a constant loop where I had to perform well to not be thrown away. But if I performed too well, I was going to be punished. And I actually wanted to show some of those messages.
Okay, here we go.
Because obviously a lot of these things, I'm not going to fully read these out because I honestly just don't want to read them out, but I feel like I want to show them to like kind of show what I'm saying.
Okay, she said she doesn't want to read them out, right? Okay.
And I am planning to probably post the VOD of this somewhere, so if, you want to read this later,
We could read it.
fine, I guess. And again,
Okay, hold on. I actually think in order for me to read it, because I'm old and I need glasses, is I need to
like kind of
I need to go back. Hold on, guys. Sorry.
show what I'm saying.
Okay, hold on. Pause. Miskiff, Emaru. But how do I know it's not just someone who doesn't follow LOL? Emaru, yes, I'm still wanting to do DPS, but for dungeons, I have to tank. Yeah. Miskiff, you really don't like you don't. Emaru, how can I know not tank in dungeons? Miskiff, you straight up don't have to because you're DPS? Question mark. Emaru, my group didn't have warriors. Miskiff, yeah, I know where this is going and I'm not dealing with it. I asked for a boundary and it's always crossed. You don't know boundaries. Oh, ooh, my biggest pet peeve right here. My biggest pet peeve right here. Weaponized therapy talk. Oh, I'm gonna, okay. The thing I hate more in life than anything is weaponized therapy talk. Ooh, you don't know boundaries. Guys, boundaries are for yourself. They're not for other people. Okay? And what do boundaries have to do with your little video games? Ooh. Oh my gosh, I'm getting flashbacks to that celebrity. Who was that celebrity? What's his name? Oh, who weaponized therapy talk against his girlfriend. Oh my gosh. This is what I'm saying. Okay. Ooh, it really pisses me off. Okay. Yeah, Jonah Hill. Exactly, Chad. Jonah Hill. That Jonah Hill story drove me crazy. The weaponized language. This happened to me. I took my ex. So I went to solo therapy, but I took my ex to one session of therapy and he held it over my head forever. Well, remember that time in therapy? I'm like, yeah, but you went to one session and you didn't even tell her the full truth. And he's like, yeah, but Yeah, but I went to therapy and then when I told him to go get solo therapy himself, he's like, I don't need therapy. You're the one with BPD. Girls, these people, that's why I say I love therapy talk, but we're not here to weaponize it. We're here to utilize it to be better people. Okay? And Chad says, Brittany, you can't be a rogue elf in our D&D campaign. You're invading my boundaries and gaslighting me with your trauma bond. My bad. My bad. What a ridiculous... Ooh, he's so annoying, this Miskiff. What an annoying little person. What an abusive... This is what I'm saying. How did Miskiff go from being a little boy, okay, in his parents' arms to being this person? What can I do? What can we do as a culture to prevent boys from being raised this way? Because this is too much of a typical pattern. This story is every story we ever hear about this topic. It's why I'm reflecting, why I'm using my own lived story as an example, so you know it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Why is it happening to all of us? Why does it keep happening? Because it isn't men are just born this way. Men are not just born this way. They're raised this way. It's so obvious they're raised this way. It's too frequent globally for this to just be biological, because I know plenty of really amazing men who would never. Every man I meet certainly isn't this way. It's just a lot of them. So why did these men go this way and other men went another way? It's not biological. You can't say, oh, it's biological. All men are like this. No, you're not. No, you're not. So how did these boys not end up this way and you did? Right? Okay, next. Okay, this one says, Emaru, question mark. How can I not tank as a warrior in dungeons because you aren't? Okay, Emaru says, when I said I don't want to be a tank, I meant I don't want to tank in raid, which is still true because I don't know what I'm doing. Miskiff, you do not need to tank in dungeons. Emaru, so I just, Miskiff, now I'm going to get so much shit nonstop. Emaru, don't ever pull aggro, question mark. Miskiff, Emmy is better. This. I don't have, I can't have anything Emmy. Oh my God, he's so jealous of her. No, he's envious of her. He's so envious of her. Oh my God. How awful. How embarrassing. Oh my God, he's literally like embarrassed that his girl is better than him at games. Y'all gotta think this through, okay? This is, wow. What a telling part of his character, huh? Oh my God. I can't believe it. Ridiculous, actually.
And, I am playing
Actually, to be honest, I have a little brother. You guys know I have many. I have 7. I've got a little brother, and every time someone's about to beat him in Smash, he cancels out the game. And I was like, oh, and I was like, you got to go to therapy for that. You got to go to therapy for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, not being able to lose, you got to be a good loser. You got to learn to lose well. You got to go to therapy for that. Okay? Okay. This third chat is it's okay. It's the same. I already read this one.
The VOD of this somewhere.
Okay, hold on. So this one says, I can't have anything, Emmy. You just take. Oh my God. Emaru says, I don't understand what you want me to do. Miskiff says, not tank, just that simple. Emmy says, what the fuck does that mean? Miskiff says, you already played warrior when I told you we're going to be compared. Oh my God, I'm so mad for her. This is abuse. Yes? Can we please all agree this is abuse? This is the word. This is exactly what I'm saying. I don't need to believe her. She didn't need to show this. I mean, I already believe her. I don't need to see this to believe her. But is this not obvious? If this is the relationship you're in, please, Habibis, if this is your friend, if this is your sibling, if this is your parent, if this is anybody in your life, you need to put down boundaries, real boundaries, and say, if this is the way you're going to interact with me, absolutely not. Okay? I am open with boundaries, but this is not okay. On any level, Miskiff is 100% wrong in these text messages, okay? This is so gross. He said, you already played warrior when I told you we're going to be compared. Emmy says, don't pull, question mark. I'm going to pull aggro because I'm a warrior. Miskiff said, no, you're not. Another warrior can tank. Okay.
You know.
Jesus.
You want to read this later?
Oof.
That's fine, I guess.
Emaru says, I didn't have another warrior in any of my groups today. I have no warriors wanting to join. Miskiff says, girl was 27K, couldn't find a warrior. You can every time. You just want to tank. I know what you're doing right now. I'm not dealing with it. Emaru says, there are no warriors asking to join. And why is it bad for me to pull in dungeons? Miskiff says, because now I'm going to get compared nonstop because now people are just going to say you're better. Oh my God. Because I told you this is where you first told me you want to play warrior and it's already happening and you just don't care about this stuff ever. There are no boundaries with you. I'm so angry for her. Oh my God. I can't believe it. I just can't. I'm so exhausted for her. I've been through this. This is what conversations with my ex were exactly like. Worse though. They were bad. They were bad. Like, it was so bad. Yeah. Same with, I have a brother who's exactly the same. It's so exhausting working with him or trying to like have any relationship with him. Never can hold themselves accountable. It's worse though. This is nothing compared to this shit, but I'm sure her texts are worse. I guarantee you there are worse text messages somewhere because like, it's not just this, but it's like this about everything. You can never do anything right. Everything you do is a threat to them and you're trying to undermine them. Everything you do, any type of success you have is about their undermining every time, you know. Oh, it's so unhealthy. It is so deeply unhealthy. How does this happen? How does this happen? How do people become miskiff? It's so ridiculous. How do we prevent our children from becoming miskiff? See how you don't want to be Ms. in the story? That's what I'm saying.
And again, this was all happening while I was live. You can literally go find the stream and see me trying to deal with
Miskiff says, or no. Emmy says, dude. Miskiff said, don't dude. I asked for one thing with you. Don't be a tank. And now you're tanking. What can I do? Miskiff, or Emeru says, what am I supposed to do? Miskiff says, don't take. Yep, there it is. Emeru says, I'm playing the game. Miskiff says, tank Emmy. Do it. Let me handle all the hate. Oh my God, what a baby.
While I'm live in the middle of a dungeon. Trying to just play the fucking game.
Miskiff says, oh my God. Tank Emmy, do it. Let me handle all the hate, the criticism, the you're worse than Emmys. The Emmy is so much better. The people saying you're better. In every chat, the comparison, since nobody will be on my side, let me deal with it. You have fun. I asked you to not be a tank, to become a tank, and you didn't listen. And now it's the classic. What was I supposed to do? I'm not dealing with this. Whatever. Space, line. What a fucking toxic baby. Ridiculous, bro.
Oh, fuck, I think I...
Jeez. Hold on, she's pulling it up on screen.
Tank Emmy, do it. Let me handle all the hate, the criticism, the you're worse than Emmys. The Emmy is so much better. The people saying you're better in every chat. The comparison says nobody will ever be on my side. Let me deal with it. You have fun. I asked you not to become a tank. You didn't listen. And now it's the classic, what was I supposed to do? I'm not dealing with this. And like I said, you can go find the stream. But for context, I was playing Warrior in World of Warcraft in like a level 24 dungeon. It was like Silverpine. Like, it was just like, it wasn't even like, it was like dog shit gameplay, I'm gonna be honest. Like, so, yeah. Yeah, you can, read that later, I suppose, if, yeah, like I said before, hold on. I was constantly trying so hard to compromise with him because I wanted to be cool and I wanted us to be able to coexist in the same streaming sphere. But I felt like I could never win and he hated my whole existence. Like ever since that one stream where I had like a little bit more viewers than him. And he would say that it was my fault that his stream was dying because most of his viewers liked me. And whenever he hit on another girl, they would be confused or not take it seriously because they knew that me and him were together privately. And he said if he would be able to hit on other girls and convince them that it was real, he would get his career back.
What?
Said if he would be able to, because his viewers liked me, and whenever he hit on another girl, they would be confused or not take it seriously because they knew that me and him were together privately. And he said if he would be able to hit on other girls and convince them that it was real, he would get his career back.
What?
That was like, started within the last couple of weeks that we spoke to each other. He started saying terrible things to me about other streamers in Austin. In particular, one specific streamer who, I know there's a lot of people that know he has beef with certain streamers. It was not one of those streamers. It was someone who, to this day, has been nothing but nice to him. He would say horrible things about this person, like about them in their stream, and it was very hard to listen to. And just in general, he would say horrible things about other streamers in Austin, like, I quote, "I hate everyone here. You are all useless to me. you're worthless to me because it does nothing for my stream anymore to collab with any of you.
Oh my God.
And him saying that was the final straw for me. The day that he said that to me about other people was the first day that I ever, for the first time, started to ignore his calls and messages. And because of that, he even threatened to come to my house if I didn't answer. But I did end up calling him back, and I spoke to him, and I basically told him that I felt like I could finally see things for what they were.
Actually, great point. Chat says, imagine saying you need women to build your stream back up while you tear down one because you can't get good content on your own. It's very whatever podcast coded, fresh and fit coded, where like these men can't do anything without the girls on stream, but also don't want to see the girls be more successful than them because that ruins the image that they're more successful than them, right? Like Myron will have these women on, the whatever podcast will have these women on, and then like tell these women they'll never be as successful as them because they use their bodies to be famous or whatever. As you know what I'm saying? It's a very interesting misogynistic like loop, and that's what's happening with Miskiff. He's a misogynist, and so he's looping on this idea that like women will never be as good as him, so he can't handle the idea that like she is doing better than him, and then he also needs to use these girls to boost his stream, but because they're lower than him. These men who use women to boost their streams, they hate you. That's why I say stop going on these men's streams. They hate women, dude. Like, I mean, sometimes it's hard to tell, but it is obvious after some time that they really do think, especially the guys who are always surrounded by a lot of girls. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's a specific type. It's not just gendered, you know, boys, girls. It's a very specific boy who uses a very specific type of girl to like make himself look good, you know?
And he started panicking, and he was super apologetic, and he was saying he didn't want to lose me, which wasn't the first time that he like did something like that and was like, you know, basically begging me not to leave. But that was definitely the most extreme time. And again, like I said, I always had the hope that things would be cordial or that, you know, we could be fine with each other. So I agreed, and we agreed we were going to talk about all of that. We talked about it about a week later, and instead of apologizing for anything, he basically told me that he realized he needed to go to Japan and LA to get his viewership back up, and he was basically too young to focus on friendships and relationships. And it was I mean, despite everything, like I said, I still cared about him, so it was still hard. And
it's going to be hard. So, okay, let me zoom out a little bit from Emmy. It will be very hard to break this cycle. I'm still deconstructing my own cycle with allowing men in my life. A big part of it is not new people, it's old people. So obviously when new people come into my life, I'm much better at being like, no, you know, I'm getting better at it every year. But when old people have been in my life for like 20 years, it's very hard to know like how to cut people off or how to encourage them to grow. Because you've known these people, you've grown up with these people. Like I come from a really big family, you know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit more difficult. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But the thing I want us to focus on is that you don't change overnight. It's not like something happens to you and then you wake up tomorrow and you're a brand new person. It takes years of deconstruction, maybe years of therapy, years of philosophical work. Like it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So when I mentioned that girl I mentioned earlier on stream, the one who asked me, why do I make so much space and do so much emotional labor for these white men? And a big part of it is something I'm still deconstructing, right? It's not white men in particular. It's just that's the group we were around at the time. But it's really these conservative men. And a big part of it is because I'm still trying to figure out if there's any hope for my family. Now, I've let go of the attachment of the outcome, but I'm still a scientist at heart, girlies. I want to do the experiments. I want to know. I want to problem solve. I'm still a philosopher at heart. I want to know, what does it mean to be a person? And as long as I'm not doing it at the expense of my joy, I will maintain being helpful. But I think that's why people get burnt out on helping people, because eventually you got to learn that you can't help people who don't want to help themselves. And so you have to let people go. And then you just have to be like very hardcore about it. You know what I mean? Why was I so compassionate to Asmon at some point? Because I'd just been introduced to his work. And so I was still holding out hope for him. Now, obviously, if I had been watching Asmon for 10 years, I would have burnt out a long time ago. But I've noticed I give people about a year of solid watching before I'm like, yeah, they're not going to change. And then I even check in with people. I was just checking in with Sneeko, absolute loser, hasn't learned a thing. Jesus. Just hasn't learned a single thing. Not one speck of growth. Crazy. crazy. But that's the world. The world isn't growing as fast as everybody else. So that's why I say, I know people who always talk about communities. The reason people go into a more individualistic growth journey is because like, we can't wait for you. You're not moving fast enough. I don't want to abandon you though. So I will circle around every so often and be like, how you doing? You good? Do you need help? Where are you at? I won't abandon you, but I'm not waiting for you either. I won't abandon the world, but I'm not waiting for it either. So it's not conservative, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's deconstructed. I'm not waiting for you either. I love you, but I'm not waiting for you. But I will always aim for a world that benefits everybody in the way that you should be benefited. Housing, clothing, education, all the good things, right? But yeah, I'm not waiting. Because every time I wait for you, I hold myself back and I prop up abusers and toxic people, homophobes, transphobes, racists. Every time I think, as a person cries in front of me and shares their childhood trauma, I think I can help this person. I also give them a space where they feel safe enough to not actually heal. Because if you love me damaged, why would I need to heal? Now, I love you damaged, but I'm not hanging around. I love the world damaged, but I'm not hanging around. And you won't make me feel bad for it. You know?
I mean, it was like a mix of feelings, you know?
Oh, and this is why I say this as well, because I know in my job over the years, people have said, oh, Brittany, reach out to this person. Oh, Brittany, see if they need support. I don't want to be that person for you. Do not reach out to me. I will not be your support. I'm already doing emotional support for too many people. That's the thing. In the past, people have said, oh my God, Brittany, you're reviewing Emaru. Reach out to her. No. And I think it's a red flag when people do. I have seen certain YouTubers and people's comments when these things happen, and I always say like red flag, that you are seeking to be this person's emotional support system when you should already have one you're busy supporting. Why would strangers on the internet be reaching out to people for support? Don't you have friends and family you're already supporting? What spoons do you have available where you can take on another person's? Explain it to me.
Like, I was devastated, but I was also so relieved. But because of the past incidents during like other fights and times I would try to separate myself from him, past incidents during those times of him manipulating me into staying close with him and giving him more chances, sexually assaulting me, the abuse, and just him generally not being a very nice person. After that, I decided that the only solution and way for me to move forward, I made the hard decision, but I know now for sure the right one, was to finally completely cut contact with him. I knew it'd be very hard because our careers and our communities were so intertwined, but I knew that I had to do it and that there was no other choice. So I have not spoken to him since January of this year. It's been 10 months. But you think that's the end? It is.
Oh my God, it's not even the end. Discord just said the jingling took me a while to realize it's Brittany's earrings. Is my earrings, are they making noises? Sorry, I hope that's not annoying.
Unfortunately not. I haven't spoken to him since January of this year. It only took a couple of weeks, but soon the messages started. He has attempted to contact me over 40 times.
Oh my God.
Over 40 times individually this year in individual texts, Discord messages, Instagram DMs, and phone calls.
Guys, I don't know why it is so hard for people to process. Stop trying to message people that don't want you to message them. Just stop. I don't know why people just love messaging people they know they don't. Stop doing it. You look absolutely dangerous. And at some point, you just are.
And, I'm just gonna show those.
Oh my God. 40 messages, bro. Ugh.
And at first, it starts simple. Be confusing messages or like him expressing he was worried about things.
Obviously, he's mentally disturbed, right? Like Miskiff is obviously like mentally unwell. That's an explanation, not an excuse. He needs to deconstruct and ask himself, why is he engaging this type of interaction with Emmy? I'm leaning in because I'm old and I can't see and she's not showing them very clearly. So he says, can we please communicate so I don't feel isolated and hated by my own org? I just want to be okay with each other and feel like our streams and lives, we shouldn't have this feeling. I came home and feel terrible. It feels so odd that I cannot talk to you or anyone. and just know that's happening. Then he messages again. That's February 23rd, 24th. Can you please respond? February 24th. I understand and we'll just leave you alone, but I really would appreciate if we can talk. I won't text you again after this. I really just want to talk if possible. Okay. It says this one is earlier, January. Hey, just want to make sure you don't have a recording of me, right? Oh God. I'm getting harassed that you do, and I'm assuming it's nothing. February 22nd. This was January 20 something. It's hard for me to see the screen. Hold on, I'm gonna move the mic. Okay. Do you know why I am removed from everything? Why am I kicked from OTK? Nobody's answering my calls, and I don't want to bother you, but I'm panicking and I don't understand what's happening. Then February 23rd, can we please communicate? Okay, I read that one. Okay.
Like, at first it wasn't anything weird.
Okay, she zooms in right after that. Thanks. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Oh, I miss it every time she zooms. Okay, let's see. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I can't just not message you and still care about you. I can't just not message you. I still care about you. If you need to talk, I'm here. Boo. I'm sorry. Shit, I like this happened. I'll be up all night if you need to talk. Can you please talk next day? Can you please talk to me? Emmy, I'm so sorry for what I did. Next day, Emmy, can we talk tomorrow? Or not Emmy, but can we talk tomorrow? Jesus. Okay, so she zooms in. Thanks, chat. Okay, so she zooms in. Okay, thank you. Hey, I found out you weren't invited to this is March 15th. Hey, I found out you weren't invited to the party. I know you wouldn't want to go, but I didn't do invites. You were invited, of course, and I hope you're okay. And one day we can talk. March 19th. Can we please talk? I really need to tell you things. I'm so sorry for the past few months. I'm so sorry for so much that happened. I needed this time to be alone. But I really love you so much, boo. I just needed to know what being alone. And I learned I need you. Boo! I don't know what to be without you. I regret so much that I hurt you and left. Boo, boo, boo. Ladies, girls, if you are getting these messages, absolutely not. Boo. Chat says not you, adding the boo. Boo. I hate this shit, drives me crazy. I've dealt with this from brother, from ex, from people. I'm so sick of dealing with people who will not get their shit together. I'm so sick of it, bro. And then to blame you is so exhausting. I'm so sick of this particular trope of person. This particular kind of person, yo, this is the most frustrating kind of person to deal with ever. Okay. He said, I really need to tell you things. I'm so sorry for the past few months. I'm so sorry for so much that happened. I need time to be alone. Okay, please call me. I haven't stopped thinking about you in months. Boo. I know what I want, and it's you and only you. Boo. I've been nothing but miserable without you. I love you, Emmy. Boo. And if you take me back, boo. I want us to be in a real relationship. I'm going to kill myself. I want us to go on dates, to live together, to plan our lives. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself in principle alone. On principle. Chat says, I'm so confused as that emoji face. Chat says, I'm so confused as a streamer whose whole career was drama. Did Miz never think this would come out? They don't care. Honestly, they're like, nobody cares. Because at the end of the day, guys, this is human beings. This isn't just streamers. This is everybody. This isn't just streamers who message like this. We've all been in toxic relationships where we've gotten 40 messages from somebody, friendships where we've gotten 40 messages from somebody, and we just don't know what to do. Absolutely. See, I remember there's somebody in my life who people think has BPD because this is how they do it. They send like 40 messages. I've never been this girly. I do not. This is how I know whatever I got going on with me, autism, BPD, whatever it is, I am not this girly, and that's all I am thankful for more than anything in the universe. You will never see me send anybody 40 messages. Okay, girl, like, ain't no way, never gonna happen. Okay? And that's the thing. Like, this is the thing that is so frustrating to read is like the constant, like, get the fucking hint. I haven't talked to you in 2 years. Why are you still messaging me? I haven't talked to you in a year. Why are you still messaging me? And why aren't you messaging me like in a way that says I've gotten better? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. This is so messy. This is so stupid. I hate this for her. I hate this for everybody in this position. I hate this for everybody who has to deal with this. Okay, let's see. Ugh, so frustrating. I want so much with you. Please just hear me out. He says, I wrote out a lot of how I feel. I've been writing so much. I learned so much about myself. Just please, if you can hear me out. I love you so much, Emmy. I've been crying every night without you, boo. And I'm so sorry I've done any of this. I've been so depressed without you. Oh, please. Just please call me. I'll be up. I will do anything for you. I will come home from Japan right now for you. March 20th. Can you answer me, Emmy, I just tell me you moved on. Oh my God. What a tactic. Just tell me you've moved on and I'll never message you again. Didn't you get the hint when she didn't respond to you? See how they try to get you? So then you respond, I've moved on. Ding, ding, ding. They're like brains light up. They got you. You're contacting them. You reacted to them. Now you're feeding it. Now he's got you right where he wants you. Don't respond. Block, move on. Damn. Oh. Okay, just at least tell me you've moved on. April 11th. Hey, would you be willing to talk? Bro, this girl, she is so good. She is so good at responding to him. But look at the way, that's what I'm saying. Girls, if they're not responding, you gotta move on. You know what I mean? This is crazy. This is just insane. Chaz says BPD girly. If someone doesn't respond to a message, I'm like, okay, cool. They hate. And never message again. Again, like whatever. They hate me. They don't like me. They don't want to be my friend. I'm the same. That's why I mean, like my BPD was so insulated. It was so like to myself that if nobody responded back to me, I just be like, okay, my BPD trait was thinking like they didn't respond. It's over. But also that's everybody. You know how many people, you know how many streamers reach out to me and say, hey, Bray, I saw you didn't message me back after like a week. I just want to make sure we're good. We're good, dude. I just literally spaced. I answered you in my head, but I forgot to message you for real. They're like, okay, cool. And then we're good again. The issue is when the issue isn't that you had the thought. The issue is that you punish people for it. Miskiff isn't like he is violating every consent boundary that makes a normal person go, hey, I don't think they don't want to talk to you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you've messaged her so many times. She's gotten the message. She doesn't want to talk to you. Why haven't you gotten the message? That's what's so weird about his brain. Why doesn't his brain tell him, stop? Stop what you're doing. Monday, May 5th. Hey, I know it's been a while. I just want to say that I'm going back to Austin next week, and I think that you and I should at least be able to talk and communicate with each other. I'm going to also be doing a lot of collabs, and I know you've been doing a lot of collabs lately, and I feel like we should be amicable with each other so it's not weird because we're both now doing a lot of clubs, and I feel like it would be really weird considering we're both also in the same, or that we're just not talking to each other at all and have zero communication. I assume he means like OTK or collabs or people. Okay. Ugh. Man,
this is not someone who loves or cares about you.
Obviously. Thank you, Emmy. I'm so sorry for her. My heart goes out to her. Okay. If we can't communicate and we're going to continue to not talk, this is only going to get weirder and weirder as we're both invited to the same things constantly and we're both invited to Austin activities. It's best for both. Wow. Manipulation. We're going to have to see each other at work, so we should talk. Miskiff 3/19/2025. Can you please answer my phone? Okay. Not a day has gone by in these last 4 months where your final words to me, don't go, haven't echoed in my heart. I walked out your door thinking I knew what I wanted, but I was wrong. I told myself I needed to be alone, that I had missed out on being single in my 30s. I convinced myself I needed space, freedom, distance. But the truth is I was afraid of commitment, afraid of what it meant to truly let someone in, even someone as beautiful and kind as you are. Boo! Leave her alone. So I tried to protect myself in the worst way possible. I pushed you away. Oh my God, this reads like a toxic romance novel. I told myself lies to justify it. I said I was bored. I said a relationship would hold me back. I said I didn't want to be with just one person, but those weren't my truths, or weren't truths. They were shields I put up to avoid facing my fears and the parts of myself I hadn't yet healed. And in doing that, I lost you. This toxic romance speech is toxic, guys. Stop falling for it. Stop falling for it. Stop romanticizing it. Listen, Brittany in her 20s ate this shit up. I'm going to be the first person to tell you, Brittany in her 20s absolutely fell for this. I got the same. My ex-boyfriend could have written these letters. Same shit, same script. I cheated on you. I lost you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I was fucked up. My childhood. I just need help. I need your support. I need therapy. Please, I can't do it without you. Girls, the pattern is so clear, girls. Okay, the pattern is so clear. And that's what I'm saying. This, whatever is wrong with them, whatever it is, none of our business, has nothing to do with us. Don't know. Doesn't matter. Let it go. We do not need to know what was wrong with our exes to move on with our life. Not my business, not my problem, not my issue. Okay? The issue is, our responsibility is what made us stay with these people? What made us care about these messages? What made us see this and ignore the red flags? Not to victim blame, but to avoid it in the future, to grow. So we can notice it the next time, because girl, this isn't the only time it's going to happen. Misgifts, I'm sorry, they're not that rare. And it's going to happen again. And when you see this guy, he might be more rare than the population. I don't think most people are misgift, but I think it's not rare enough that you're not going to run into another one. That's the problem. You're going to run into it again. How do you avoid it before it escalates? You know, to empower yourself. Okay, let's see. The last 4 months, wait. Okay, so he says the last 4 months have been the hardest of my life. Whenever people see me on the outside, online, or anywhere else, know this: I've been lost without you, boo. I've missed you every single day. I've cried more times than I can count just thinking about your smile, your laugh, the way you'd merp or make those weird little sounds when you were happy. Wait, did I add in weird? I did. Make those little sounds when you were happy. I even had to unfollow you at one point, not because I wanted to forget you, but because seeing you reminded me so painfully of how badly I messed up. Did my ex-boyfriend write these messages? These are literally the same messages. This is crazy. The pattern is so clear. Is it? Okay, I think it's a lack of extrospection. Philosophically speaking, I literally think these people don't ever ask themselves why they're doing anything. They just do it. They're like, you know what I mean? They're not, I don't really believe in like NPCs, but they're like on autopilot almost. Like, would you just think about a message before you send it, please? Why aren't you thinking before you send it? It's the same. Like, it's like they think it sounds good or that it's pretty. It's not. You're becoming like a stalker at this point. And for what? Oh, this is love. What is this? Why do they write like this? Why do they say these things? You know? He said, not because I wanted to forget you, but because seeing you reminded me of how painfully of how badly I've messed up. I love you, Emmy. I always have. And I know I never stopped. Is this the same guy now on stream saying Emmy was mutually abusive and all these things? Because it's the other thing my ex tried to do. He'd be like, yeah, well, you would cry all day long and you would lock yourself in the bathroom because you were so fucking BPD. And I was like, yeah, because I'd go to work for 15 hours a day, come home, and there wouldn't be anything done in the house because you were playing video games. And I would break down. Now that I'm autistic, I know that I'm autistic. I know now it was like, you know what I mean? Imagine being an autistic person who works as much as I do and then coming home to a person who stayed at home playing video games all day and then would be like, why'd you break down and have a, you know what I mean? Like, hello? Like, what was I coming home to? Like, you know what I mean? And then I would avoid coming home, just like Emmy said. You know how many times I spent days just like at other people's houses crying about my relationship? Yeah. Like, this is exactly the same pattern. That it doesn't matter if you're the strongest person in the world, you have the most aggressive personality, you're smart, whatever, you can end up falling for this. And I do think for myself, at least I won't speak for Emmy, is because the way that I was raised, I hadn't deconstructed. I really believed in this narrative that you could fix people by loving them. And it's just not true. Love isn't enough. They have to want to change. They have to want to do the work. They have to philosophically actually recognize that it's really hard to be a good person. It's really hard to be a good person. And that's why I think a lot of us, especially autistic folk who work really, really hard to deconstruct, also feel the most guilty over doing like the tiniest bit of oopsies. Because we do the tiniest bit of oopsies, we're like, oh my God, I can't even sleep at night. I said something about a streamer You guys know, the other day, and I was like, I hope I didn't hurt his feelings. And I literally couldn't sleep all night thinking I hurt his feelings. And even though we're good, I literally was up all night. These people do this and don't lose a wink of sleep. They don't give a fuck. And I'm like, what is this? You know? Okay. So then he says, I know our time together was far from perfect. My mental health weighed heavily on us both. And I'm so sorry for what I put you through. You carried more than you ever should have had to, but I'm working on myself now, really working. I've started treatment. Oh, and this is the whole, I'm going to sex therapy treatment. I'm going to rehab. This is BoJack Horseman. This is, oh, I'm getting help now. This is what my ex did. I'm in therapy now. So listen to me when I say this, okay? I wouldn't talk about my ex so much if I ever thought he would be back in my life, okay? I wouldn't feel safe enough to, because every time you talked about him, it would reignite in his brain that Brittany's still thinking about me. Versus Brittany's moved on. It's been, a billion years and she's just reflecting on her life. He would see himself as a main character in my life still. I wouldn't be able to move on, even though I'm married now. I'm lucky that my ex is out of the picture, so unable to continue harassing me and my family. A person who drove to my parents' house to give me a letter, even after a long time not contacted him, a person who was convinced I would be with him, even though it had been years, and his parents had been telling him, like, she'll never be with you. She's moved on. He's like, I've changed. Tell her I've changed. And his parents being like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to contact Brittany to convince her you've changed when I know you haven't. Shout out to his parents. Okay? And that's the problem, is like, whatever is wrong with these people's brains, I still think it's introspection. I really do. Because I meet people with every kind of mental illness you can think of who do the fucking work every day. Every day they do the work. So I don't know what mental illness you think you have that makes you exempt from doing the work, but we're out here doing the work. And that's what pisses me off, that mental health gets such a stigma when we're out here every day doing the work. Autistic, borderline, bipolar, schizophrenic, we're out here doing the goddamn work. Hell, even NPDs we know are doing the work. And then everybody else gets to be out here being like, oh, it's my mental health. Okay, well then what's our explanation? Because we're out here doing the work. You can get better. You just have to want to. And I just don't believe you want to. I believe you refuse to be introspective because we're out here doing the work. And so this is why I hate this weaponization of my mental health. It's my mental health. Your mental health can explain a lot of your bad action, but it cannot explain this. This is not mental health. This is values. This is not mental health. This is ethics. You don't give a fuck about the pain you're putting Emmy through because it's not bad to you. You're justifying it because you're not being introspective. Okay. All right. He says, okay, I've started treatment. I'm on Lexapro and I don't know how to say this word. Propranolol. I can't say that. For the first time in a long time, I feel clarity. My emotions aren't running wild anymore. I think more clearly. I feel steadier. I'm learning to be the man you always wanted me. You always thought I could be. If you were the man she thought you could be, you wouldn't be messaging her. Hello? Okay, next message. Ridiculous. I'm finally the man you wanted me to be. The man who harasses you and sends you 40 messages. Make it make sense, girls. Is that the message that you got from her? That Emmy wanted you to literally stalk her? What is that? Hello? Oh my gosh. Ridiculous. Okay, let's see. Oops. Wait, this one I definitely can't see. I gotta grab it here. Okay, hold on. Okay, and now I can see things clearly. And know this without a shadow of a doubt, you are the love of my life. Every night we spent watching shows, every silly conversation about Cheddar, every time I walked into your room as you were about to go live, I cherish it all. You brought color and joy into my life in ways I didn't fully appreciate until I lost you. And I hate that I let fear and pain and pride blind me to how lucky I was to have you. Emmy, if you still have any space in your heart for me, I would spend the rest of my life making things right. Oh my God. Literally, girls. I know I'm making a joke, but I'm dead serious. Did my ex write these messages? This is for like verbatim. This is how not special you are. FKA Twig said it perfectly about abusers. You're not even special. They didn't pick you. You were just there. You're not even special. They would have written this letter to anybody. Jesus fuck. That's what I'm saying. Let it go, girl. Let these people go. Let them go. They do not. Even your stalkers, you're not special. They would have stalked somebody else. You were just there. That's what I'm saying. You're not even special. You were just there. Jesus Christ. He said, Emmy, if you still have any space in your heart for me, I would spend the rest of my life making things right, loving you the way you've always deserved to be loved. This time fully. I'm leaving for LA, but I would make it work with you even if we can still start small. It's always been Matt and Emmy and still could be if you will have me. Matt, Jesus, disgusting, bro. Oh my God, ridiculous. Oh my God. Okay, Miss Kiff says, can we please talk while you're here? A simple conversation would go very far for both of us. The lack of communication is very confusing. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. Okay, then she blurred some things out, I'm assuming for privacy. Okay, May 5th, 2024. So Miss Kiff tagged, it looks like he tagged her. Did he tag her in the story? Or is this her story? No, this is his story, right? It looks like he posted it. Can we please talk while you're here? Lack of communication is okay. It's the same one, but it's not blurred. Okay. Jesus. Can we please talk while you're here? Okay, same thing. Same thing. Okay, that's his story. So he posted her on his story? That's crazy.
And keep in mind, this is only things that he sent to me. I can't document all the things that people told me that he was saying.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And
wow.
It's just kind of a funny side note, I guess.
This isn't rare. I need to say this again. Anybody who watches this and thinks like, oh, but this is rare. Every girl I know, every person I know who's dated a man who hasn't deconstructed has a similar story to this at some point in their life. At some point in their life, they have some story about a man, whether, if he's not deconstructed, has done something similar. And that's what I'm trying to explain to people. This cannot be biological. I refuse to engage in a reality where this is biological. Okay? It's not every man has done this. It's a specific grouping of men. And why do they end up this way? Okay? Why do they end up this way? And that's what I think we should solve, because not for the sake of men, for the sake of our children and for the sake of everybody else. But this administration and Trump, this is all connected. These are Trump people. These are entitled people. These are people who never think to change the way they do anything. They're never willing to admit they're the problem. You might think, oh, well, Miskiff is admitting he's the problem. He's not. Nowhere in these messages does Miskiff actually understand he is the problem, even though he says the words, I am the problem. Nowhere, because if you have embodied understanding that you're doing wrong, you won't do this. You cannot in one side of your mouth be like, oh, I'm not transphobic. And the other side of your mouth be like, female, biological woman, trans people shouldn't go into bathhouses or bathrooms. It's like, no, like you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to use examples that make sense, but you know what I mean? Like, you can't in one side of your mouth be like, I respect Emmy and she's beautiful. Also, I'm going to harass and stalk her against her consent. No, you can't have both these things. You can't have both these things.
I would like to highlight this message.
Oh, Jesus.
Because, doesn't really matter, but I ran it through the ChatGPT checker and all the highlights.
No way. 58% of it is ChatGPT. That's so funny. Because ChatGPT was not around when I dated the guys I dated, but honestly, it sounds the same. Whoa, that's so funny.
Like I said, doesn't really matter. I just thought it was interesting.
What?
But,
that is crazy. Discord said this isn't his mental health. It's him doing anything he can to be in control. It's good he's going to therapy since he was so afraid other people might get more attention, but it's so self-centered to demand that she validate his growth. Well, this is the irony. When these people go to therapy, listen, I listen to therapists, and they say when they get clients like this, it is incredibly difficult. Therapists also don't want to work with certain people because they're also people. It's not that they don't believe that people can get better, but they're also people. And they know when they're standing or sitting in front of a client who's not going to actually work to get better. You have to actually want to get better. Otherwise, you're just paying a real human being to hear you like complain about your life. Damn.
Yeah. Like I said at first, the messages were just simple things. Like, him saying he was worried about things or saying no one was talking to him, which I don't think was even true at the time. I think he was just saying that to try to guilt me into responding to him. I'm not sure about that, of course. The This also extended to in-person interactions because initially I made the mistake of thinking that I only had to cut him off through private communication and, you know, we would be fine going to the same events and parties and such. I also had to start... Hold on, I'm still fucking sick. I made the mistake of thinking that I only had to cut him off through personal, private communication, but I also had to start avoiding going to the same parties or places I was worried he'd be in person.
Definitely.
Because
Dangerous.
This was after he came back from his first trip to Japan.
Very dangerous. I would not want to be in the same space as him. I would definitely start to think like it could get dangerous.
There was a party that I attended several months after I first went into contact with him. I was aware that he would be there, and I thought it'd be fine. I thought it wouldn't be a big deal. I thought I'll just let him have his space. I'll have my space. You know, it's not a big deal. We're adults, right? During this party, I felt like he was following me around and monitoring me.
Definitely. No doubt. Okay, look at this.
I was a massive wreck. I couldn't think straight. And
This is him responding to Emmy's video that we're watching right now.
And being that Emeru hung out with me all day, she too started to become high strung. Ugh. We would yell at each other, fight, and argue all the time. Things we never once did. I felt this relationship was taking a huge strain. But I thought it could be fixed over time since things were just so amazing that first year. But I was a massive wreck.
Bro, I can't believe he even bothered to even do this.
And I was aggressive at times. In regards to being controlling, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole, stop talking about past relationships, and yes, I didn't want her to travel without me. I also said that I didn't want her to hang out with specific people. This is because I didn't want her to get hurt. I didn't want Emmy to get assaulted. I didn't want some man to
But you assaulted her!
do something to her when I'm not there, and I wanted to keep her safe. And I know with how my mental was and who I was back then that I didn't do everything right. I know I could have done better, and I'm sorry. I know I was controlling and I should have just ended the relationship, but I was so confused as a person. And I'm sorry I didn't. I'm sorry things got to this fucking point, man.
Boo! 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 Absolutely not.
We went to get food at BJ's, a common place where we would get food. And then we went
That's your first mistake. BJ slander in the chat.
back to her house. We cuddled for about 30 minutes and started to kiss.
The BJ incident.
She said that she was okay with this on her stream, and I started to advance to the next stage because I thought that's what she wanted. She yelped, and I immediately sprung up and was scared if I did anything wrong, or did wrong in general. I got scared and left the house. I apologize if that made Emmy uncomfortable for me not saying sorry, and I wish I said sorry back then.
I think it's like a big like read the room moment type thing.
We went to get
Yeah, it's interesting how he tells the story. So obviously, Miskiff's sister.
And on Miz, I think Miz is a bad boyfriend. I don't think he is a bad person. I think
This is Miskiff's sister. Why are you smiling?
he is a bad boyfriend. Being that jealous of her fake view counts is pretty embarrassing.
Being jealous of her fake view counts.
I think streamers on a whole are very narcissistic.
This is why we got to hold our brothers accountable. Girl, you did not just choose your predator brother over a victim, girl.
I have a little narcissism in me. I think they're all narcissistic to be able to get on here and feel like they're important enough to entertain you guys. Like no one else is equally as important. They all look at each other's view counts. They all wallet check, view check, like, I don't know. I think they're all narcissists and they're all in competition with each other. It was a bad relationship, pretty common. It was a talk, in my opinion.
Jesus, bro. Ugh. Save me from the toxicity, bros.
Monitoring me, but I thought that I was just being paranoid.
Chat said self-report. Exactly. Self-report. Don't let these people convince you we're all the same. We are not all the same. Destiny said that about Ethan. Just a reminder, everyone's a piece of shit behind closed doors. Nah. Don't put me in this group. Don't put, not if that's not true. That's how abusers try to get away with it. Well, we're all abusers. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. That's why I say if you're going to hold Emmy accountable, hold her appropriately accountable, because do not let Miz convince you Emmy is as bad as him. That's what they do. Okay? It doesn't matter if Emmy has her own things to deal with. We all do. She is not the abuser in this relationship. But he will convince you she was. And then you will convince yourself she is. And then that's how victims end up never speaking up. And that's why perpetrators and predators always end up getting away with it. Because they go, well, we're all just bad, aren't we? We're all just bad people. No, we are not the same.
Like it's probably just in your head. I was hanging out with Nick and Catchy and a couple other friends. And at some point, Nick was like, it's too fucking loud down here. Let's go upstairs. No one's upstairs. Let's just go, chill in a room and like talk where it's not so loud. And I was like, okay. So they, as a group, went upstairs first without me, but it took me a bit longer to get up there because someone like stopped me and was talking to me. And I did feel like, he was like standing pretty close to that person. I felt like he was watching me, but
wait, Chet says that's not his real sister, by the way. It's a stream bit. She's just another creator who was a regular on his stream. Oh shit, thank you for that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I thought I was just being paranoid. But I went upstairs, I was hanging out with Nick and Catchy and, our other friends. And then about 30 minutes later, the room that we're in, the door opens. It's Miz.
Oh, God.
He opens the door, makes eye contact with me, goes, ooh. And then closes the door and leaves. And I was like, what the fuck? But again, I was still trying my best to, give the benefit of the doubt. Like, maybe it's just like an awkward situation or something. But a couple months later, the person that he was hanging out with that night reached out to me privately and was apologizing. And I was like, why? And they're like, I just felt like I had to apologize to you because I felt so bad and so embarrassed of what was going on. Like, yes, he wanted to see what you were doing. He was saying, like, I want to go see what's upstairs. And he was checking every room. And then after he opened the room that you were in with Nick, he closed the door and started laughing. And then he just wanted to talk about, how you guys broke up for the next, like, however many hours.
Oh, my God.
So I was like, wow, okay, that's good to know, I guess. The next story that I want to tell involves what happened to me, Valkyrie, and Cinna earlier this year when we were attacked at the Santa Monica Pier. Because that was obvious.
Okay, hold on. Before she talks about that, this is what I think we can learn from these situations. It's not rare. It's not common, but it's both. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not every guy, but it's enough guys. It's not the whole of the population, but it's kind of like the population. Like, it's so weird though, because like your family and friends, you really have to raise kids. Cause I always wondered how I found myself in a toxic relationship. And it wasn't like it was mirrored to me. It wasn't like my parents were ever toxic to each other like that. So why did I end up in one? And a big part of it was that I had been so severely rejected from my conservative parents as a queer kid that I ended up joining communities of people that were also rejected. And then I didn't put it together that not all communities with rejects were good communities and that there would always be somebody who's rejected for their community for a good reason. And I remember saying this after I broke up with that ex. I started to put a new rule into my toolbox that said if you had a bad relationship with your parents, that was a red flag. And it was very much predicated on something specific. It was if you have a bad relationship with your parents, not if your parents have a bad relationship with you. And this is very different. If you are the reason your relationship is bad with your parents, red flag. But if your parents are the reason, then okay. Because I understood that some of us were not going to have good relationships with our parents. But the question was, because that particular partner, they had good parents. Like, obviously parents that understood that they had to work on stuff and had raised them in a very toxic environment, but had done the work 20 years later. Okay, so I understand, right? They know that. They don't need to get beaten up for that anymore. They know. Okay? And they're still working on it. They're deconstructing, they're doing the work. Okay, love that. Okay, now, I realized that even though I love them and would have loved them as in-laws, their son was a lost cause. And they even had to radically accept that their son was beyond, you know? And there's something about that so devastating. We couldn't do anything. Imagine feeling so powerless over somebody you love that you can't do anything about it. And that's what's so devastating. I have a brother who's the same thing. Like, I look at him and I just think, like, there's nothing we can do until he wants to change. And you can pretend, you can invite him over, you could act like everything's good, and he'll let you pretend everything's good until you try to hold him accountable. And then all of a sudden, you're going to get 40 text messages about how you're the devil. So again, what I see from this is a pattern I'm used to seeing in people. It will show up in your life. You will know somebody at some point. You need to be open with boundaries. You need to say, when I have a miskiff in my life, when I say I have these people in my life, it's important that we say, I love you and I'm open with boundaries, but absolutely not. Okay? You cannot treat people this way. You cannot act this way. Okay? You cannot treat people this way. And then you have to be very diligent to make sure you're not gaslighting yourself into thinking you're the bad guy because you're abandoning people or not being there for people. Or maybe you have to check yourself because you are that person, right? So you guys got to really be ready to hold yourself accountable, okay? Chad said it's the way it's the way things like this is so normalized, and how there seem to be so many who haven't even thought about how normalized it is. Exactly. We have to stop normalizing. So again, my heart breaks for Emaru and all the girls in this space. And look, my heart breaks for any of us that think better of people and are disappointed. But at the same time, please don't lose your faith in people. Don't lose your faith in humanity, because there's so many good people walking around. You know, you're one of them, right? Like, you know, there's a goodness in the world. You know, there's a goodness in you because you've worked on it. You're going to continue working on it. Any single one of us could die a bad person. And the only thing I hope for all of us is that we work to die good people. But it will take work for the rest of our life. You can never stop trying to be a good person. It's not like you reach good person status and you stay that way. You always have to keep going. And that's what's so scary for the world, is like, some people are comfortable in where they're at. And so they're afraid to keep growing because it will mean abandoning some of the people you meet along the way. But not because it's bad, but because it's just life and that's how it goes. It's okay to move away from people. It's okay that friendships end. It's okay relationships end. It's okay as long as it's for your joy and your health. You know, just make sure it's for the right reason. Be honest with yourself. You're the only person who can lie to yourself the greatest. Stop lying to yourself and be honest. Okay? Stop putting up the front. Stop pretending you're tough. Stop pretending that you're trying to get better. Are you trying to get better? Are you really doing the work? Because we can't read your mind. You're the only person who really knows the truth. So make sure you are honest with yourself. Miskiff is the only person who knows what the truth is. He has to be honest with himself. And I mean that for his own his own consciousness knows. He knows, like, when he writes to Emmy, I'm doing the work, I'm on a drug, I've done therapy, I've done these things. That's the lie. We know it's the lie, but he needs to know it's the lie. So he's the only person who knows he's being honest. So he has to say, okay, Miz, is this true though? Yes, I'm doing these things, but am I really better? Would a better Miz do this to Emmy? The answer is obviously not. Okay? So he needs to stop lying to himself and convincing himself, right? But it is not our job to wait around while Miz figures it out. Okay? Even with family and friends, that's why I say, like, I love my inner circle, but if I never see them again, it is what it is. If they're not going to do the work, then they can't be in my life. But I love them and my phone is always available. I am always available for them, but they still have to do the work. And if they're not willing to do the work, then I love them so deeply, but I cannot allow them in my life at the expense of my mental health. And there is a difference between cutting people off that you're done with and you never want to hear from again, and keep being available for people that you're always open to changing. Uncle Iroh left Zuko. He didn't cut him off, but he said, okay, I'm not going to wait around. But if Zuko came back, which he did, and apologized and got better, he would be embraced. Same thing. I'm not going to block you, but I'm also not going to come chasing. You're either going to figure it out or you're not, and I love you. But you will no longer be the reason that I don't grow or that I don't get healthy. And I want that for everybody. Do the Uncle Iroh thing and make sure you're fulfilling your joy and your calling, even if it means doing the hard thing. You know, yes, Iroh choosing to walk away was such a strong moment. It was the moment. It's so important for us to know when to walk away. And then again, to know if you're walking away permanently with no way of contact, or if you're walking away, but you're leaving the path open. Okay? I leave my path open for lots of people to find their way back to me. I close it for others. You have to know the difference between which ones to open and close it for, which is why I learned the hard lesson in my 20s when I dated somebody like Miss Giff. Okay, how am I going to learn this lesson? How am I going to learn like when to like make sure the path has a glow? You know, there's a light in the path of the forest. And when to make sure I cut off all the lights so they can't find their way to me. Yeah.